everyone, and welcome to another brand new live episode here from the
Geek
Buddies!
Hey! There it is.
We are jumping into the Batman, doing a spoiler review for this 2-hour and 55-minute movie. We're going to break it all down and talk about all the things we liked and didn't like, all the things that worked for us, didn't work for us. We'll probably have some massive debates. We'll have some Mike and Mike time. That's for sure. That is absolutely coming at some point, and we're excited to jump into all of it with all of you as well. But let's introduce ourselves as we go around. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Outlaw Nation and the Geek Buddies. Mike.
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies, and sometimes nemesis of Mike Kalinowski.
And Shannon.
Hey, this is Shannon McClung. I'm a television actor and an animation writer, where my most recent episode of Strawberry Shortcake Fairy in the Big City just dropped on YouTube yesterday.
Nice.
Cheers.
Congratulations. After you take a sip, work on your mic. Let's hear from your mic and not your headphones, Mike. Mike Kalinowski joins us, fresh New York Times best-selling author, reviewer, critic, Inner Geekdom Schmodown champion, and all-around massive Batman fan. Very excited, we all are, to welcome you back, brother, to hang out with us. How are you? How are things? Are you excited about doing this review with us?
A pleasure, as always. As always. To talk about this movie, I wouldn't want to be any other place with you guys than with you guys.
That's
right?
very kind.
That's
yes.
it. Yeah.
How's the James Bond book on? Plug it right now.
Dude, I was just out at the store. I just was at Barnes & Noble for the first time and saw it on the shelves today for my first time. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So it's
Kalinowski put out a little video. He put out a little video
today.
Oh, nice.
Very touching.
Saw it my very first time seeing it on the shelf. So it's pretty awesome.
See, there you go. Yeah. That's congratulations, Mike. It's great to hear you.
And probably numerous of your followers have helped make it a bestseller because, if you guys that are watching us now have helped make it what it is. So thank you very much for that.
Of course, certainly. We share some followers, no doubt. But,
Absolutely.
you got to have good product for them to keep coming back and enjoying it. Certainly, you have that, Mike. So congratulations to you. But you and Brad Gilmore, let's not leave.
Me and Brad Gilmore, yes. Yeah, I did not do it alone by any stretch.
Let's not leave Pretty Boy
Gilmore.
Brad out of it. Let's make sure we get some props. We're going to get into so many things here today, talking about the Batman. I went and saw it again on IMAX today. So just to kind of fully savor it and get completely engrossed in it. And it was a lot of fun. Certainly my third time now watching it. So we're going to jump into and talk about all of it. Before we do, I want to remind you all to please remember that Streamlabs and Super Chats are open. 2 of you have already sent in Super Chats. We appreciate it, Matt. And let's keep them coming throughout the whole show. Let's jump into the first one here. Adam Hitchcock says, my favorite foursome. Best show on YouTube by far. Thank you. That's very kind of you, Adam. Pattinson is the greatest Batman ever. And that Batmobile might be my favorite car chase ever. Second best behind Dark Knight. Can't wait for the sequel. Thanks for all you do. Great start here, gentlemen. After the movie, I was in the bathroom there relieving myself, and I heard 2 guys arguing over Christian Bale versus Robert Pattinson. One man vehemently defending Christian Bale, another vehemently defending Robert Pattinson. We will do the same as we go along. But let's start off jumping off of that. Kalinowski, I'll go to you first. We did an on-spoiler review the other day. I heard from these 2 already. Overall thoughts about this movie. Break it down. Before we jump too deep into the specificity here in the spoiler review, talk to us about this movie for you. What did you think about it as a Batman fan?
From the beginning, when he was announced, I know Pattinson's a great actor, but a lot of the whole, we're going to go back to his roots. He's going to be a year 2, him starting out. And I'm like, didn't we just do this with Nolan's films? It was his first kind of starting out. I wanted, when they were announcing this film, like a Batman being Batman for 10 years. I wanted a Batcave with a giant penny and a dinosaur robot in it. Like, I wanted a fully fledged out Batman, but we weren't getting that. And so, hey, we don't get one. So I had to go in. But every trailer, every interview with the cast, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, they were really doing a lot of interviews before this, talking, and everything that was being said was like, yep, that's it. They get it. Yeah. I remember it was Reeves at Fandom 2 years ago, or the first Fandom, and he says Gotham needs to be a character as big as Batman. I go, that's it right there. It needs to be. So the first viewing, and I was talking to Shannon about this, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way. when I watch trailers, I've stopped watching trailers for movies, big ones, because like watching this movie, there were so many scenes I was waiting to see because I'd seen them in the trailers. Like the very first set pics that came out were him on the bike in the graveyard. So I'm watching the movie, I'm like, okay, when's that scene going to come in? And it was the very last scene of the movie. So that took me out of it a little bit. And you guys had some great points, especially Vogel and our friend Jonathan Gabay had some good points after the movie about, we'll get into it in a little bit here. So that made me think, it's like, do I feel that way? So I had to go back next night and see it again. And all those thoughts that they had were washed away. Loved the movie the second time. The first time I really, really liked it. Like, okay, I got to see it again. I got to get the wash of a first time seeing it out of the way.
Yeah.
Second time, fully immersed in. Shannon was saying, like, since it's a murder mystery, will it matter the second time because I know how it ends? Didn't even bother me.
Yeah.
Like that whole. So I loved it more the second time.
Wow.
And now I'm fully invested, fully on board. And I think some of the things that Vogel said, I disagree with vehemently.
Wow.
Here
Wow,
we go.
that is just blowing me away. I never would have ever guessed that you would vehemently disagree with something that I said. This is a shocker.
Yeah.
I can see Kalinowski alone in his room.
Let's get this out of the way. Let's get this out of the way. I need to ask this, and maybe I should have asked this with Vogel way long ago. Vogel,
We haven't even got. We're doing a review here. I just want to make sure.
I know, but I got to. This will set up the review for everybody.
I hope so.
Yes,
While
I
he-
will.
while he's
Yes,
doing
I will
that,
marry you.
There it is. Oh.
Non-animated Batman. What is your best Batman interpretation on screen?
My best,
What do you love? Who do you think is like that's the best Batman movie we've had?
the best live action Batman that's
Yes.
not animated.
That's
Robert
not
Pattinson.
animated.
Robert Pattinson.
Okay.
Wow.
And
There you go.
Okay, what about Batman movie? The best Batman movie so far.
I still think it's Dark Knight, but we'll discuss in more detail when we get into the review.
Thank you.
Like the boss just said.
Thank you.
Exactly. So as Kalinowski has referenced Michael Vogel a number of times, Michael, have you gone back to see it again since you saw it the other night? What have you had time to think about it, ruminate on it? We did do our non-spoiler review where we gave our general overall thoughts, but here, since it's a spoiler review and it is in the title, so if you're watching this and you haven't watched the movie, I hate to break it to you, we're about to break it all down here and spoil stuff for you. So, Michael, spoiler thoughts about this movie overall.
So I have ruminated a lot on it. After we saw it on Thursday, kind of thought about it all day Friday, thought about it Saturday, and since we had the review today, went this morning with one of our good buddies, George, who slept through the first viewing of Batman on Thursday night, and I felt like I wanted him to see it. So the two of us went to go see it. So saw it, came right back, jumped into the review. I will agree with Kalinowski that I do think the second viewing is better than the first viewing. I was a little worried, particularly because it is sort of a mystery and because it is a long fucker, that second viewing was going to get a little rough. And it was not. Like, the second viewing, I actually really had a good time. I think that once you sort of know what the movie is, you get where everything is going to be, you can really sit back and just appreciate all the amazing things that Matt Reeves did. Unlike Kalinowski, it did not completely wash away the issues that I had with the film. I think the issues that I have with the film are still there.
Okay.
I think there are a few big things that I don't even want to say miss the mark, but I think there's a couple big major things in the movie that prevent it from being a true masterpiece for me. I know, Johnny, you referenced in our non-spoiler review, you felt it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And that's why I do have a little bit of a challenge with, well, is Dark Knight still the seminal Batman film? Is this that? But overall, I think that I'm really glad I saw it a second time because I think that it did make the things that I appreciated about the film shine even brighter. And I think that there are so many things to appreciate about this film. I really do think I do think that Matt Reeves absolutely knocked it out of the park. I think he took on so much in setting up all the things that he wanted to set up in this movie, potentially for this trilogy that he has his mind in, that I think that 3-hour runtime and some of the issues that come out of it, and the third act particularly, don't kind of keep it from being all it could be. But definitely, I'm probably going to talk a lot more about what I loved in this movie, and then I'll talk about the few things I didn't like, and Kalinowski can yell at me.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Shannon, we go back to you on this one. You've seen it 3 times, I think, as well. Is that correct? Or maybe twice? Okay, only twice.
Twice.
So thoughts on the film now that you've had a little more time away from it, a little bit of time to ruminate on it, different from non-spoiler. Now this is a spoiler. So what are your overall spoiler thoughts about the film as you think about it now?
I mean, up through, is my mic okay, by the way? It says it's connected here.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Up through the car chase, I do think that the movie's pretty perfect.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed it. I think the car chase is fantastic. I love the different take that, as I said before on our non-spoiler review, this is the most low-tech, high-tech Batman we've gotten. And it is so enjoyable. I think the moment that Alfred goes into the hospital, it starts to lose its way a little bit. And I think by the time you get to the taking down of the Riddler, like you get that great scene in Arkham. I loved Paul Dano's performance. I do agree with you, John, that he goes a little "There Will Be Blood" in certain spots.
Right at the end.
But the third act action set piece is the part I really kind of have the challenge with. It just is not. It's not as grand as I would have, maybe as I would have preferred, or as I have been conditioned to expect from superhero films. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just kind of like, oh, it's the seawall. I mean, there were definitely, once we've seen a movie, like we start to construct the way we would have done it in our heads. And for the long time, I'm like, I don't know what I would take away. And I'm like, and I wouldn't necessarily take anything away, but I would have plus some things. Instead of a seawall, I would have had it have been a dam, like really jack the city up. And also, I feel like there should have been one more person that the Riddler was trying to get, instead of just trying. Who?
Bruce Wayne.
They missed him. And he says that in at Arkham. I'm saying that last bit when they knocked the seawall down, I'm like, I wish there was one more person they were trying to get.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that you would have liked it if the Riddler had missed on Bruce Wayne but went after somebody else.
Yeah, that there was one more person on the list that Batman had inadvertently helped him set up.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'll say this: having seen it 3 times now, the third time was certainly my favorite viewing, as I tweeted out there, because the IMAX and everything like that. It is a film that if it works for you, you can really sink into this thing, and I really did. Now, does it take a left turn with the water and the seawall? Yes, it does. But then you think about, well, a lot of these Batman graphic novels end up leading to something bigger than what it was initially presented most of the time. So although it was a bit of a left turn, it didn't 100% take me out of the movie. And the overall point is that you're essentially washing away the sins of Gotham to start all over. It's a baptism of Gotham, a rebirth of Gotham. That's what the water symbolizes. Just like Batman falling into the water, comes out and wants to lead and realize, hey, I can't be vengeance anymore. It must be hope. And so that's what I understand the symbolism to be. That being said, it's still a bit of a left turn. But that aside, everything else works so well. I mean, just Robert Pattinson, I watched him even more this time, watching his eyes, watching him convey so many emotions, so many messages through the mask, through the cow, through the looks, staring at the kid after the kid has the kid has found his father and he's sitting there and you're hearing that song. He just stares at the kid, and it's that combination of empathy and also wanting to maybe give that kid some strength to fight, because he understands what he's gone through. The connections with Catwoman are really great with Selena Kyle. For me, the back and forth, the love there that's building slowly but surely, it is there. And the stuff with Jim Gordon is just so perfect. And this time around, the stuff with Alfred really worked for me, actually. I found myself enjoying that a bit more. I understand what they were trying to do with the Alfred character. This is based possibly, what was it, an Earth 1 Batman or whatever it was. Yeah. It's more of a contentious relation. Not toxic like it is in Earth 1, but more of a contentious relationship. So the arc is, he's a little mad at him and whatever. That's kind of bubbling under the surface. But when he almost dies and he tells them the truth about Thomas Wayne, that kind of brings them together, and the reaching out of the hand and the holding of the hand, all that works so well for me. And then, of course, the stuff with the Riddler up until the end. And that Joker scene, I can't get on board. I still can't get on board with that Joker scene. No matter how many times I've seen it, I felt they should have left it till all the way at the end of the credits. Maybe it would have worked with a little bit of separation. But we'll get into all of that as we go along. Vogel, I'll go back to you on this. You mentioned Robert Pattinson. this is prodded by Kalinowski. You answer the question that Robert Pattinson is your favorite Batman. Batman / Bruce Wayne. Is this your most complete Batman / Bruce Wayne, and why?
Yeah, so I know when we did our, initial reaction and we came out of the movie theater and you asked me and I was like, yeah, he's top 5, whatever. I still was like sort of settling in my mind, kind of taking in all things about the movie. But particularly after thinking about it for a couple of days and then seeing it again this weekend, I really do think Robert Pattinson's portrayal of Batman is my favorite portrayal of Batman and also the most accurate to the comics. Similar to what Kalinowski said, and I think this is somewhere where we're both going to fully agree. Yeah. Early on, Matt Reeves said when he was making this movie that he really wanted to lean into the detective aspect. And even though we got hints of that with the Christian Bale and Nolan films, like if you're a Batman reader of comics, of the Batman stories in any kind of written form, yeah. He's the world's greatest detective. He is the smartest guy. Like, that is the thing that like sets him apart from everybody. And I think that they just nailed that with this movie. Like him just sort of that opening scene of him going in to the mayor's house when the mayor has been killed and the police are all there and Gordon just walking him past and all the police staring at him and him just being this like creepy ass dude who is just staring at everybody, taking things in, kind of putting the pieces together. Like, this is that Batman. And I think that I love that. I think we talked about this in our non-spoiler review, but I think that the suit, particularly the mask, and the way that we got to really see his eyes and how expressive his eyes were, made this one of the better Batman performances. A lot of times, and Nolan did this a lot, where we would see Batman be Batman, but we didn't really get to see the acting except when the mask was off. Yeah. And with this Batman, I think this is the first Batman in live action where you get to see the acting with that mask on. And I think that's really, really effective. And so I think, and I think we can, the Bruce Wayne of it all, I've seen people kind of complaining, oh, this wasn't Bruce Wayne, and I've seen Kalinowski retweet 95 things about this in the past 48 hours. But I actually agree with Kalinowski on this too. Like, it doesn't bother me that this isn't millionaire playboy Bruce Wayne, because this is a Bruce who is still figuring things out, who is still fully focused on this mission to the absence of everything else, and the whole movie is about him realizing that he's doing it a little bit wrong. And so the fact that he hasn't realized that he needs to have this other aspect to the Batman Bruce part of his life, I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. So across the board, I think Pattinson was a huge win.
Fair enough. And Kalinowski, go to you next. You brought up this idea of, hey, this is a guy who, this is a different kind of Batman Bruce Wayne. This is a different approach to it you've seen before on screen. And it's year 2. I've seen some people complaining, I don't like that he's one step behind the Riddler. It's year 2. How many of you were fucking great at your jobs in year 2? For a guy, he's still figuring out. He's still, all right. He's still putting it together. He's still making it all work. So what did you think about Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves' decision to play the Batman and construct the Batman and Bruce Wayne in this way for this movie?
Like, and I'll be honest, like, so for me, my Bruce Wayne is that fully realized. Someone said it like years ago. They said Bruce Wayne is JFK Jr. Like, that is Bruce Wayne. This charming.
He is dead, by the way. I want to make sure very clear for any QAnon people watching. He's actually dead.
That's true. He's this just charming, well-spoken, guy, and so that's what I think of Bruce Wayne. But all the talk of this, they were saying like there is no Bruce Wayne in this anymore. There is not a persona he's created. He is living. He doesn't sleep during the day. He's just always there. The whole thing with him putting on the sunglasses because it was so bright. Like, but then it was a little disconnecting. But I'm like, okay, this is the Bruce Wayne they're doing. But then seeing the second time, and this and Vogel has called me out on this, and to his point is a very good point. When I watch a movie, especially like BVS, I can infer all these wonderful things. But Mike's like, that's great. And if those things were in the movie, it'd be a good movie, but they're not. So watching this and watching the second time, that scene with Alfred, and he's like, you needed a father and I wasn't there.
Right.
That's 20 years of this guy living on his own, trying to figure this out. And he's like, yeah, I taught him how to fight, but he didn't have a father.
Right. And I didn't know how to be a father.
Right. And like the way he dresses, there's one scene he's wearing a t-shirt and it's got a hole in it. It's just like, he's just going through the motions till he can go out at night. Mm-hmm. And so but then it sets up his past, his present, and his future in that one scene of what Bruce Wayne will be. And with the mayor talking to him, and I love this. There's went down a rabbit hole today of all the white people are the bad people in this movie. And this sucks. The mayor, the commissioner, this, and it's like, and the black young mayor's got to. Yeah, the black young mayor goes to the white rich guy and says, "Hey, we need to work together to do this together."
Yeah.
And that's that whole aspect. We're gonna see him develop Bruce Wayne and you see him on the red carpet for this movie. It's like, that's Bruce Wayne, haircut, suit. It's like he'll grow into it perfectly. And I was thinking about this, and the DCEU, that ship has sailed and it's doing its own thing. This is the Pattinson verse. I was talking a little bit about Shannon about this, and I think if they do it right, this to be is its Iron Man. The Bat-verse could be its own MCU. We could get 10 years from now a Robin that's grown in and will eventually graduate to Nightwing.
Well, we'll go to Bloodhaven at the end here.
I know,
where
it's like,
the Nightwing stuff happens.
The seeds are there if they just let them take their time and like he's saying, build out this Bat-verse.
Yeah.
10, 15 years from now, we could have, a No Man's Land, a Clench storyline.
Right.
The Nightfall. We can do Nightfall when we build up the villains over movies and slowly build into that. It just felt like, but people wanted that. Like, I wanted the Bruce Wayne, the billionaire playboy charming guys. Like, we're getting there. We're getting there.
What's the rush?
Exactly. So it worked for me.
Fantastic. Shannon, swinging over to you on this one as one of the only two actors on this panel right now currently on screens. Talk to me. What did you think about Pattinson's performance as an actor? Did you see the inner life? Did you see the work? Did you see him building and constructing this character? Did you see past stuff in these interactions with these characters throughout the movie? Interactions with Jim Gordon, interactions with Alfred, interactions with Carmine Falcone, when Carmine Falcone is giving him the background on his family. You talk to me. How did you feel about Robert Pattinson's performance as an actor throughout this whole movie and this construction of Bruce Wayne / Batman?
Well, I mean, a lot of the stuff I did say in the non-spoiler review, so I do apologize for sounding like a broken record here.
That's
but
all right.
Here we go. Something that a great actor can do is do a lot by not doing a lot. It's the idea that you can look, as Vogel was talking about with the design of the mask, the fact that you can look at Pattinson and it may not look like he's actually doing anything, but it's that inner life that you were talking about, John. It's the fact that you can see the gears turning, you can see him putting things together, and to do that without doing very much. I mean, that is a skill. Like that's a real skill that's difficult. That's difficult to achieve. As performers, we want to perform, and the restraint on that, and you give a lot of credit to Pattinson, but you also got to give a lot of credit to Matt Reeves and cinematographer. Yeah, that they knew how to capture those moments. To the Bruce Wayne of it, like this is the guy who hasn't figured it out yet, and like where Robert Pattinson falls with Keaton, with Bale, I think we need to see more of, and it sure seems like we're going to. I don't think you can actually make that call until we've seen more, because despite the fact that I was not a huge fan of The Dark Knight Rises, Christian Bale's performance, gravelly voice aside, Christian Bale did a fantastic job. Michael Keaton, they didn't give him much of an arc, but Michael Keaton was just so magnetic, especially for someone who had never done this type of role, and no one ever expected him to do this type of role. Right. That doesn't take anything away from Pattinson's performance. I think Pattinson's performance in this movie potentially is, in hindsight, going to get better as we see where he takes the character, where he grows as the character, as he faces larger challenges as the Batman, but also as he develops this alter ego of Bruce Wayne, this billionaire playboy who is just, as Kalinowski said, just the red carpet guy, the guy who's JFK Jr., the guy that's super charming. From an acting standpoint, the cast was just dynamite. I mean, Dano's interrogation scene aside, that cast was just... It was just an embarrassment of riches that they had.
Yeah, certainly Matt Reeves bringing some incredible collection of characters to bring to life his vision for this movie. And we'll get into his direction. We'll get into that in just a second. And Shannon, you bring this up that looks like we will be getting soon. Looks like right at this point, looking at Deadline right now, their current numbers, Batman is projected at 128.5 million domestically as an opening. It may cross 130 by tomorrow morning around the globe at 248.5 million. So that's an incredible opening for a film like this that is 3 hours long It is dark. It
Yeah.
takes its time and introduces a new Batman. We're not that far removed from the Ben Affleck Batman or the Christopher Nolan Batman, all in the in the 2000s, so to speak. So pretty incredible to see it being able to accomplish what it's accomplishing here to start off. Michael, I swing back to you on this, and we're going to jump into Super Chats and Streamlabs in just a second, ladies and gentlemen. So keep sending them in. You are, as I said, you are the showrunner. You are you've been in charge of scripts, in charge of bringing that ship into port. Talk to me spoiler-wise about the things that worked and didn't work with you story-wise overall in this movie, please.
Well, and I think I did say this in the non-spoiler review, but now I can be a bit more specific about it. Sure. I don't think there's anything that Matt Reeves did in this movie that is wrong. Okay. I think that all the ideas he has are great. I think the year 2 Batman is great. I think the mystery and the Gotham renewal thing and how that ties back to Thomas Wayne and Martha and the tweaks he made to that origin story are great. Like, everything is really good here. Yeah. I think that ultimately the arc of Batman going from this guy who's fully focused on vengeance and realizes that he's inspired some people in kind of a fucked up way and needs to sort of shift gears and be a little bit more hope, to your point, Johnny, is great. I think where this movie suffers is that there's so much going on, and particularly watching it a second time through, you as the audience, there's a little bit of whiplash. We start out with, okay, I gotta find out who this girl is. I gotta find out who this girl is and what she knows. But then with the riddles, it quickly gears into, wait, no, I gotta find out who the rat is. I'm hunting down the rat. Or is the penguin the rat? No, he's not the rat. Maybe this guy's the rat. And in the middle of the rat search, you then take a half hour to go into this whole Thomas and Martha Wayne bit where the Riddler all but disappears. Right. And then you come back to it. And I'm not saying it doesn't all work. So but I want to be really clear, especially in the chats. Oh, Vogel's critique. Like, everything that happens is great. But when you have all of those different things going on at a 2 hour and 55 minute, I talked to a bunch of our friends coming out of the theater, and I've talked to some other people this weekend, where I don't think the movie is necessarily too long. I don't think you need to cut time out of this movie. I am 100% cool with a 3 hour Batman movie. Yeah. The reason it feels long is because you get in the middle and you start to, as an audience member, go, okay, so wait, what am I tracking here? And then the second part that sort of is underneath that is, because this whole story is about a Batman who is emotionally disconnected from everybody. He's wholly focused on vengeance, and he gets to this other place. All of the relationships he has are very pulled back. Like, he is in reserve. And like Shannon said, a great actor like Robert Pattinson can do a lot with doing little, and I think he does. Mm-hmm. But I think, and I wouldn't change it, I don't want this movie to go MCU. I don't think we need a bunch of funny quips. I don't need the funny, humorous Batman. I would actually wish they took what was there and this idea that he is disconnected from people and actually pushed some of the scenes with Alfred, with Gordon, with Selina Kyle, which are the three sort of connections that he has in this movie. And at the beginning of the movie made him a little bit more of a bastard and had them really push him, and maybe even use that Alfred scene in the hospital, in addition to Alfred saying, hey, I was never there for you, being like, hey, you need to let people in. Like, there's ways you could have taken everything that's there, and without drastically changing what the movie is, kind of condensing everything, streamlining some things, and giving him more of that emotional arc, so that we really, not just seeing him at the very end of the movie open up, but a gradual thing with Selina, with Gordon, with Alfred. And I think those things would have made, for the casual viewer, look, if you're the hardcore Batman, and I said this in the non-spoiler review to John, and I think all four of us fall into this category, like, this is great. This is a great Batman movie. But for everyone else, there's things you could have done that would have taken it from being as good as it is and like amped it up another 15%, where people weren't like, oh, it felt really long. Because like, it's never about how many actual minutes a movie is. Right. It's how long does it feel. Endgame and Infinity War are fucking long ass movies, but there's so much happening that you're like, oh, it was great. And I think that, so it's really, for me, the two major things are so much story that how could you streamline it a little bit? Right. And also, let's take what was there, what you wanted to do with Batman with that emotional connection thing, but let's make that even bigger so that we see a bigger contrast from where he is at the beginning to where he ends up with his core relationships. It's a great point. I mean, a 90-minute Venom film felt like 4 hours, so I hear what you're saying. Absolutely. Seriously. And, clearly Michael wanting more jokes like Thumb Drive in the movie, so I understand
Michael wanting a little more humor presented here. Kalinowski, you talk to me about the story here, man.
Yep.
You know, you're a massive Batman self-professed, and we all agree, a massive Batman fan. What did you think about the way they kind of weaved in all these different storyline arcs from year one, from year two, from all these different from Long Halloween, all this Earth One? Like, what did you think about how they constructed and kind of shoved all these different disparate elements into one here story?
Yeah, I want to talk to you guys about this specifically because they you know, everyone's referenced Long Halloween, year one, and I think Batman Ego.
Yes, but, Ego, right? Yes,
like are the Arkham games, like just the design, production design was all of the Arkham games.
Yeah.
In Earth Year One, I was talking to someone last night. We went out, and it's like Earth Year One, and I think it's Volume 3, where Martha, the Arkhams and all that, she's an Arkham. This is all the last 10 years. This is all, so we weren't sure if they weren't talking about those books because they're kind of new and they didn't really hit very well with everybody. But that's all new and fresh. There's the animated series is in there. So much of that with the story of Falcone and Thomas Wayne saving him. Like that's from that too. And someone was making a joke. They're like, you know, oh, you like Bruce Wayne stalking Selena Kyle. He's outside with binoculars. Like, oh, well, Mask of the Phantasm, he's stalking his ex-girlfriend, you know. So it's just like Mask of the Phantasm.
Everybody.
I know that's what he does.
Stalker. He's trying to find crime.
But what I love about it was we all know Batman, and I might this way too. Are we burnt out on it? Do we get burnt out on it? And for a little while I was. It was like I wasn't building Bat stuff. I wasn't reading the comics as much because it just felt like an overload. But I was like, all right, let's see what they're going to do new. And there was so much that they did new with this. Like I don't think he threw a batarang. I don't think he threw a batarang in the entire movie.
Threw one? No.
He did. Like
he had the knife.
Yeah.
But he never threw a batarang. Like he never used his cape like we've seen Batman use a cape before. Yeah. Which I think like, and now I've always kind of joked about this with Spider-Man and Homecoming. Like in the Tom Holland never did the things I wanted from Spider-Man, and they purposely didn't want to do that because we'd seen it for 5 films.
Right. And
I got that. So with this, they did so much stuff like the wingsuit. You know, normally Batman would have flapped out his cape and flew, but they did a wingsuit, which is really cool.
That was awesome.
I mean, how many? We were all like, "Oh, please don't show those pearls again. Please don't show those pearls again."
And they didn't.
They didn't. But they did include the Waynes as a massive part of the story without even touching that particular scene in Crime Alley. They didn't even touch that. And to show the eyes of that little boy, that scene when he looks and he's just staring at that little boy, and then Alfred through his lens sees the little boy.
Yeah.
Right.
That's brilliant. So
and also when Falcone dies, it's under the lamplight. So giving that reference without necessarily making too big of a deal out of it. Yeah.
So much incorporating the past of so many tropes that we know of Batman films. But how many Batmobile chases have we seen? But that Batmobile chase, I think we all can agree.
Yeah.
Man, we saw that in Prime, our second viewing, and so we knew it was going to happen, but the audience didn't. So the seats were like, and we're like, oh, and the whole audience like, oh. It seems awesome. Yeah, so
it's no Batmobile going up the side of a building like Batman Forever, but it was the second best after that for sure.
But it made me like I got home that night and I just started bringing out my old graphic novels and like re-going through old stuff to just soak it all in again. It took what we've seen for 80 years and was completely fresh and new.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost an MCU approach, right? Not to because like
no.
They took Civil War and they made it work. Yes. Pretty incredible, and we'll see what they do with Secret Invasion, what they keep and don't keep from it. Infinity Gauntlet, they made that whole thing work in their own way, and that's what you got to do. And updating it for the new generation that is actually buying those comic books, I think there's nothing wrong with it because there's so much still to explore and re-energize the franchise with. So why not? Shannon, story. Talk to me about the story. What are some of your favorite elements here? What did you enjoy? What are the things that maybe kept you from enjoying it too much, spoiler-wise, please?
You know, generally, you know, they talk about in Hollywood how narrations can be a bit of a crutch. And when it started off with him, I was just like, but I actually thought it worked. And I think we probably, as an audience, would have gotten the world that they were setting up. But having that narration there to support it, I think really helped. I mean, I loved the way when he was talking about when the signal goes out, it's not just a call for help, it's a warning.
Yeah.
And you see the way these sort of low-level criminals view Gotham at night. They look into the shadows, waiting for the monster to come
That was
out, this
great.
thing that they've heard about. And I thought that was just such an effective way to tell that story. It was so enjoyable. And then when the gang from the subway, when they actually see him in person for the first time, one, there's like 10 of them. So they're like, we're not scared. But also it's like, oh, this is a guy literally dressed up with the horn mask and a cape. And to then watch him just take these dudes apart, I just thought it worked so well. And again, the whole low-tech, high-tech thing, like having the contact lens that recorded, so high-tech. Having a Batmobile that the only gadget on that is a crazy engine, it's essentially just a battering ram. Like there's no grappling hooks. There's no blowtorches.
Right.
It's literally just used to run into things. I thought that all worked so well. I mean, there wasn't much of the story that didn't work for me. I mean, again, as Vogel said, like there was nothing that was wrong. I think there was just sort of an emotional distance with Bruce's story, because this was sort of the polar opposite of what 89 Batman was, where Michael Keaton as Batman in the suit was in it about 20 minutes, maybe. Whereas he's Batman, maybe not half the time, but over half the time.
Oh, yeah.
And you start to see the importance of connecting with Bruce. That makes those times in the costume, in the suit, so much more effective, because you have that anchor point of who Bruce Wayne is and what Bruce Wayne wants. And maybe that was the point of this, is because there really is no difference between these guys right now. Just one of them has a suit on, one of them doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was great when I was watching it this time around, catching the moments where, like at the beginning, where you see him in that red and black light, putting on the black makeup around his eyes, and you see the cowl kind of wrapped up there on the next to him, when he's taking the cowl, the mask off after he's come back and he's looking at the screen here, when he's having those moments with the costume, when you were seeing like the bullets flying off of him, all that kind of stuff that we have never seen before. The Rogue One moment when he comes out of the elevator, like Vader coming out with that sword, with that lightsaber, it was badass. Like all of it was so well done to establish him in those moments, yet also find those moments where he's still figuring it out. I mean, up on that roof, if Selena doesn't come down, or up on the stadium, if Selena doesn't come down, that dude shoots him in the head and kills him most likely, or at least maims him in some way for sure. And then the fight scene, as you mentioned, Shannon, in the subway, that is so great. And then you juxtapose that with how he deals with the Penguin, right? He walks right, he has to fight off these security guards before he can talk to the Penguin and sit in there. He's still a guy who's figuring it out, and he has to go low-level tech, which is walking right into a dude's place, at his place of business, confronting him about it. And even when he swings and throws the Penguin against the window and shatters the window a little bit, the Penguin is not intimidated by him. So there is still an establishment of a hierarchy that is being built here as we go in year two. And I love that about the whole story. And then the story itself, which is, of course, very Seven reminiscent. I mean, the logs, the books, all of that, very Seven reminiscent. But it's enough of an homage that it isn't a steal, but it's enough of an homage that you get the feeling of this, plus the Zodiac killer stuff that's all there, which is an unsolved crime still. All of that gives you a nice vibe that he is paying attention, showing this idea, and you're going along with it, and then boom, the water and all of that stuff starts to happen. But amidst it, there is this very real story of him trying to figure out what happened with his dad, and then realizing, oh my God, everything I've spent doing for 20 years might be a lie. What do I do then, right? There's that moment where he's, doesn't even give Alfred a chance to take a second or third breath before he goes to him. You lied to me. I'm glad you're awake. I need to tell you things. I know you survived a bombing, but you son of a bitch, you lied to me. And that's, sometimes humans are stupid like that. And I like that he confronted him that way, and Alfred pushed back. Alfred strongly pushed back, got him to see where he's being tricked by Carmine. And he could be tricked because he's still young. I love that. I got to grow with him as he was growing into his power. And so then by the end, where there's that moment where he says, I got to be more than just vengeance, especially because that guy who quotes it, I'm nobody, I'm vengeance. That guy, by the way, same guy they used in Seven. If you remember, that's the same actor who has that thing tied to him in the.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the same. So there's even more of an 07 homage reference there by having the same actor who has that thing tied to him in that S&M bar or whatever it is. that guy, he's the same guy. So it's a great kind of reference all around. There's a high and low stuff that he throws in there. The confrontation between him and Riddler. Go watch the end of High and Low. That is absolutely him confronting the rich guy about his house on the hill, being mad about seeing that house on the hill, and that's what Riddler is saying. Oh yeah, let's all cry for the white rich billionaire boy who's sitting in the tower. Let's all, instead of us who are having rats gnaw our fingers off to wake us up. There's a real confrontation of classism here, of racism here, of the inherent bias against people of lower income status. All of that is here to kind of get you to see it. And this whole idea of white or whatever, it's so stupid. I didn't even notice that. We're just watching a film and it works so well. Because there are a lot of those cops who are not necessarily, who are not necessarily bad guys, and we see what they do in those moments as well. So, to me, I really enjoyed the story. Again, the only thing that was a little weird is the water and the blowing up of those things, but you understand it. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
So, no, I just wanted, because I take back what I said, that I didn't think everything was wrong. There's one thing that I think is a little bit of a misstep, and I don't actually have a problem with the water. Okay. As our friend Jonathan Gabay said, I don't have a problem with the fact that the third act villain is water. Well, I think that that actually works fine for me. Like, I don't think that's the issue. Okay. For me, and this is just me, I think the one misstep is that it's pretty clear for the first 2.5 hours of this movie that the Riddler's plan is, I am going to attack the corruption at the heart of Gotham. And expose I'm going to expose this corruption about the renewal, about all these dirty cops and politicians that are on the take, and I'm going to do this. So much so that Batman even says to Gordon at one point, Riddler's not going to come after you. Yeah. You're not corrupt. But then you get to that moment in the interrogation with the Riddler, and then you uncover the video where he's talking to all of his followers, and all of a sudden, like, Mayor Real, who at the beginning of the movie in the debate is like, the renewal is garbage. Like, the renewal doesn't work. Like, she's saying everything that the Riddler's character would probably agree with, but because we need a big third act set piece where Batman saves the city, all of a sudden the Riddler goes from, I'm only going to attack the people that are corrupt, to let's blow up the city and kill the mayor, who I kind of philosophically agree with. And I think that I totally get that you need the big set piece. Like, you need to get the bad guy to get to the, I'm going to do this huge thing, because it is a movie and we have a third act set piece and we want to see Batman save the city, and we need him to realize. So I get the reason. And when you watch the video, he sort of, Matt Reeves does have him go on this, let's just show them, we're going to cleanse the city, we're going to do all this stuff. But I think that there's a slight misstep there. If they could have figured out a better justification for him to still stay on point, mainly because I think that his motivation for the first 2/3 of the movie is so perfect and interesting, and such a dark reflection of Batman's mission. Like, I think they sort of nail it, so that when they go a little bit off and all of a sudden he goes to typical third act, let's just blow up the city, it doesn't feel like this guy that I've been spending the time with. And I think that's why the third act feels not as satisfying. I think it's not the water per se. I think it's not the action. I think it's like, kind of philosophically he shifts, and we're like, well, okay. And again, this is me like nitpicking. Like, I'm not saying the whole thing falls apart. It's not Dark Knight Rises, as I said in the non-spoiler review. I went back and thought about it, and Dark Knight Rises really just goes off the rails. Yes. This is more of a, if you had just nailed this and it still felt like the Riddler's motivation, I think this third act would have played stronger.
I think what you're trying to say is it felt local, and then they went global all of a sudden instead of keeping it local. It was like small stuff, and then all of a sudden you make this massive step where you want to destroy the entire city in a floodbath, in essence.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Counters on those? Yeah, please.
Well, yeah. I mean, does this say he doesn't go for the seawalls? Say, does making Mayor Real a little dirty as well, making her the final target? Because I saw some people in the comments saying, like, well, she was the final target. It's like, she wasn't the only one. Like, it wasn't specifically aimed at her. Like, it was the city. Does making her a little dirty as well and making her the final target, does that address those issues?
Well, and here's where, and this is like from a right, like this doesn't get into problems with the movie, but this is the challenge with putting together a movie like this, is that might solve that issue, but the moment where he reaches out his hand and Mayor Real takes his hand is such a great emotional moment that by doing that, it might solve the Riddler issue, but then you lose this amazing moment. So this is where you really get into, as you're trying to craft these scripts, and particularly what Matt Reeves did, where you have so many different threads that you're trying to track. I think he did a really admirable job. And I think when you watch Paul Dano's speech that he makes to his followers on the video, he does a serviceable job of being like, let's justify why we jump all the way to let's just fucking kill everybody. But I think that there's probably a stronger solution that would have made that end of that Riddler story just like 20% more eloquent.
Fair enough. Kalinowski, any thoughts on that?
I don't.
Okay.
Interesting enough. The flood doesn't bother me because I do see it like as a cleansing of Gotham.
Yeah.
He could have planted bombs to destroy the city, but he doesn't destroy the city
or destroy her campaign speech.
Right. It was just like, we're going to clear this out like a figurative cleansing. Right. It's interesting because this movie was made 2 years ago. The hints of January 6th.
Yeah.
The
topical nature.
Oh yeah.
To know that this movie was not made way before any of this, you're like, I think what's his name? Someone, shaman, whatever, that shaman guy. I think he was one of those guys up there.
The QAnon shaman.
Yeah, QAnon shaman. I think he would have been, QAnon Riddler.
I thought I saw him at the Arkham or at the Gotham Halloween party. He was one of those people in the crowd at the beginning.
Like, for me, if there was anything that doesn't work in the sense of the storylines, it got a little muddy with the Russian, with Annika, trying to find her.
Agreed.
Go ahead. Yeah.
That was for me like, all right, we could have either tightened that up, or I think the character's name is Jen, that Selena's younger little girl that she's kind of pals with. Like, maybe it would have made that character, but I don't know if then it would have worked to have her being in a club and be a prostitute kind of per se. But
you mean from year one, or what do you mean, like from
year one? The character is Jen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, that would have made it a little more. But again, I don't know if they were like, well, we want to stay away from that because that's year one. But the Russian stuff got a little wonky for me, and I think,
I think because we didn't get to know her. We didn't see her at all. She's just a picture. Then we see that she's a dead body. Then we hear her screaming. And by the way, that scream, I think, is a reference to Kim Basinger's scream in 1989's Batman. I think it's correlative. You can hear the same pitch sounds being made in that scream. So I think that's a little bit of a reference also.
Let me ask you guys a question. I've been talking to some people about this, and it is, are Selena and Annika a couple?
She says that she played it as she's a bisexual person, and when she walks in and calls her baby, where are you, baby? To me, I bought it that she was from the beginning because she's using those.
That was the implication I got, and they never explicitly said it. But I do think that the two things that are a little like the Annika thing, she's sort of this like she's a person and a fully fledged human being, but she's a MacGuffin. Like she is the reason that this whole thing gets going. And I do think that we sort of lose it in the middle. And I think that had they maybe made it a little bit more personal for Selena, or made it a little bit more explicit, so that it wasn't just Zoe Kravitz playing it that way, but that you were a little bit more explicit with this, and that like I'm like this is the person I really love and care about, and I'm looking for her. I think that it does get a little muddy in there because like it starts off looking for her, but as soon as the Riddler gives that flying bat or the El Marada.
El Rada.
Yeah, El Rada. It gives the El Rada. The Annika thing kind of disappears until Selena finds her in the back of the cop's car.
Right.
Which why she was just, hey, let me throw these bags of money, and I'm not gonna move the body, but let's go to the drug deal. Like there was a lot of like in that moment, there's a lot going on, but you're sort of like, so wait, why is the body there? Why are you still carrying?
He hasn't gotten rid of her yet.
He's gonna get rid of her.
I think without
I leave dry cleaning in the car. I don't leave the dead body in the car.
He's procrastinating.
See, I didn't get without that Zoe Kravitz interview, I wouldn't have gotten a romantic vibe.
Oh,
because I mean, I get like people are saying, well, she calls her baby, and it's like that can be an older. That can be just like a mentor thing as well. I'm like, I get more of like, this is an older friend. Like this is someone she's watching out for this kid right now. And I think when she does find the body, as distraught as she is, that's not the distraught of a lover. That's the distraught of like more a friend or a sibling.
But I do this to Shannon all the time when we are talking about scripts, and I think that this is accurate here. Like I don't actually think it matters if she's a lover or a younger girl that Selena has taken under her wing. I think either of those are perfectly solid choices.
Right.
I think it would have made it stronger and we would have cared more had we known specifically one or the other. Like if you were like, this is my girlfriend and I live with her and we both work at the Iceberg Lounge and I'm like super fucked up because my girlfriend has disappeared, I automatically care more. If this girl reminds me of me when I was coming up and I've taken her under my wing and I'm really looking out for her and I want to protect her, I automatically care more. Because I don't actually get that information either way, I'm interested, and it's still like it all works and it moves the movie forward. Yeah. But either one, any stronger choice would make you care more and also feel more of a connection to Selena's pain. And I thought Zoe Kravitz did a great job. She played it all great. I just think if you knew more specifically one way or the other, it would have been stronger.
Sure, but does that stronger choice muddy the connection between Selena and Batman?
Why? She's bisexual. She can be in love with who she wants to be in love with.
Well, no. It's not a sexuality thing. It's a one lover as dead, and I've immediately jumped to someone else.
Maybe.
Well, it's interesting because this brings up another. It's not a. I mean, maybe it's a critique. Like, I think that Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson had great chemistry. Yes. I thought their scenes were really, really good. Do they fall in love with each other?
I think
what are we like we know, like let me say it a different way. We know, we all love the Bat and the Cat. If you read the Tom King run of Batman in the past few years, you fucking love the Bat and the Cat. Like, we want them to be together. We know that Selena and Bruce have a thing. But when you really break these scenes down, he meets her. He's like, we have a common goal. We're both trying to get this information. She gets pissed, doesn't talk to him for a while. They get back together. They meet up at the drug deal gone bad. She finds Annika's body. She's like, I need your help with this stuff. And she does kiss him, but it's like, is it a romantic kiss or is I'm just trying to like make a point? I'm fooling with you. I think by the end of the movie, they sort of have feelings for each other, but I don't think that there's this like super hot and heavy romance going on between them through this movie. So...
I wouldn't say there's hot.
But I'm more asking your guys' opinion on that than saying it's right or wrong. I just want to know what you guys think about it.
Yeah, good.
I think I think you kind of answered your own question. I think the sense that we know what's going to happen, but they let that linger with us. Like, she looks at him, that scene with the two of them, and that was another one that hit me on the second rewatch of them at the end driving. You know, she's like, you're for the city, you're not for me. And she drives off, and then he drives, and they're chasing each other.
That's a great line.
Each other, and they stop, and they don't say anything. And she just goes to the left, and he goes to the right, and he's watching in the rearview mirror. And the music's building, and then he turns forward, and it just cuts. It's just like, I don't have time for that. And she's like, he's not for me. But we know they will be. And that's what I'm saying. Take the time with it. Build it, because 10 years from now, 4 movies later, it builds that. Take the time with it.
I don't think it's a hot and heavy romance. I think what it is there's a spark of of attraction between them. There is, and so that is slowly worked through. Because I mean, there's so much shit going on. There isn't a time to go, let's go out on a date, let's go to dinner, let's go hang. You know, there isn't that time. So the time they do have, the emotions are accelerated.
If this movie just stopped and you just had like a Lady in the Tramp spaghetti moment, just for no reason, just like, cool.
There's a lot going on, so feelings are elevated, and we've seen this before, and it's true. In high pressure situations, feelings get elevated. So they're developing that as it goes along. But I don't think it's hot and heavy. I just think there's a growing romance between them, but it is not at the end like this is some heartbreaking thing that she went off this way.
Right. So I agree with all of that, but I think so to Shannon's question about if Annika were a lover, does this muddy the waters? I don't think it does, because I think what this movie is really about is about two people that inherently don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
That sort of learn to trust each other. And I think that had you shifted the gears and made those scenes a lot more, if she was like, you're a fucking asshole, you don't trust anybody, and he's like, you don't, like, there's a way you sort, and again, I think the scenes were really well written, and I agree with Kalinowski that end line where she was like, you're already spoken for, was just like fucking golden line.
Yeah.
But I think that if you had made Annika a lover and just made these two super untrustworthy of each other, who sort of gradually came to respect each other, and you still had that spark of romance, and kind of to Mike's point, that we know where it's going to go and take your time with it, I think you could have done that just as well, and it would have worked maybe even better with a little bit more specificity.
Maybe if they resist the romance until, maybe if there's that, you know, because I mean, because obviously, as Shannon points out here, she's a younger girl, Annika, so there's a sense of like, okay, that relationship, she's very much in control of that relationship. Selena is, but in this relationship with Bruce, it could be a little more combustible because she's not necessarily in control of it. So there's a resistance from both sides to kind of see, and then by the end, there is an understanding that there is an attraction here.
I think combustible is the best word. I think had you leaned in, and again, this is quibbles. Like I think all four of us like the movie.
It's one spoiler.
I think that had you leaned into more of a combustible relationship where they were both resisting it because they're both inherently untrustworthy people at this point in their lives, and still managed to sort of come to respect each other, and then Selena makes that move at the end to go help him in the stadium. I think it might have worked even stronger.
Okay. All right, let's take a break here to tell people about Carbon Health. They power and sponsor everything we do here on the Outlaw Nation, and specifically the Geek Buddies for sure. We appreciate them madly. Sorry, there's a lot going on. We appreciate them madly supporting us as they have over the last few months. If you want to get some healthcare taken care of in your life, maybe you've got some bumps and bruises from some late night carousing you want to get taken a look at. Well, you want to head over to www.carbonhealth.com. See the 90 clinics in 14 states. They've got virtual care in 24 states. They believe that there should be good, accessible healthcare for everyone. And they have a 3-pronged system to develop a healthcare plan that is specific to you. So whether you're a Catwoman, a Batman, a Penguin, a Riddler, or a Carmine Falcone who's just been shot, they can help you out. Sometimes they even have day of appointments where you can go and see the doctor day of, and that is difficult to do nowadays with everybody wanting to run to the doctor with COVID situations. Speaking of COVID, they also offer testing, and if you're going overseas, they offer testing for you there as well. So you're in a good hands and in good shape for heading overseas. So there you go. Or if heading to Bloodhaven or Gotham, you can get taken care of there at Carbon Health.
Get your Gotham foot taken care of from walking through all that water.
Your Gotham foot, it's got bacteria. All right, let's get into some of these Streamlabs and Super Chats.
Wow.
that looks dangerous. Brian Brawler says, "Ew, Mike, isn't this guy a DC shill?" Just joking. Great to have you on the show, dude. There you go.
Hey, Mikey Christmas. Mikey Christmas.
Kalinowski, Brian paid money to throw a punch at you.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, go for it. Go for it.
By the way, I think Kalinowski hears the first part of that sentence and he's about to go like full Kalinowski rage, but then he's like, "Oh, okay, we're cool.
We're cool."
Well, he's sitting on
it by now.
He's getting better on his Kalinowski rage. He's still. Entertain Nerd Studio says this movie is a masterpiece. Every scene and dialogue has a purpose. This Batman clearly represented this city of Gotham. Thank you for all the content you do, guys. Thank you, Entertainment News. And as we're going along, please remember to hit a like on this video as well. We've got over 500 of you watching us right now, so please hit a like on this video. You 500 followers of Riddler are watching us right now, so please hit a like on this video. Ooh, there it is. Mike, you were going to say something? What were we going to say?
No, I just want to say, I will say, even though, and I mean, I have lots of, little critiques. It's easier to critique a movie specifically when it's really good.
Yeah.
Like, when a movie is really good and every scene does clearly have a purpose, you can really go in with a fine-tooth comb and be like, ooh, if you had tweaked this line, if you had made this, there's some movies that we review where you're just like, fuck, I don't know. Throw it out. And this one really gets into, you are able to sort of get under the hood and get into the nitty gritty on it because this is absolutely right. Matt Reeves knows what he's doing. Every single scene in this movie does have a purpose and a reason for being. And you do get into, ooh, if you had just established this, maybe a little bit more here, a little bit less here, maybe made Alfred said this instead of this. And it's actually more fun to dive into a movie like this because it's so good and talk about if this was a 80%, how do you get it to 85? Or if this was 90, how do you get it to 95? So I totally agree.
Fair enough. TJN214 is saying, I'm sure I'm not the only one who appreciated the fact that Gotham in the movie wasn't literally just Chicago, which was my biggest issue with The Dark Knight. I mean, anybody want to chime in on that?
I will. Boy, that's a Kalinowski.
That's a Kalinowski right there.
Because let me tell you, I know there's the love of The Dark Knight, and I get it. I would say it's in the top 100 films of all time. I would have no problem saying that. It is
top 100.
Yeah, words of films of all films, McClung. Not even
Dark Knight is one of the 5,000 best movies I've ever seen.
And I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. It is not a good Batman movie.
Wow,
it is not. It is the worst of. It begins, rises, night for Nolan's trilogy.
What?
They did that Gotham City looks. Why do we need a Batman in that Gotham City? That looks like you could walk down the street, no problems whatsoever. It's Chicago. They didn't try and do a damn thing different. Okay. I like my Batman movie to have Batman in it. I like my Batman movie to be a movie that if you take him out of the suit and put him in a ski mask, it's not a Batman movie. It's a great movie. It's just not a great Batman movie. But the fact that
you like The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, yeah.
Come for the Batman, stay for the Dark Knight review. I appreciate it.
But they made it. This is the first time that Gotham was like a living, breathing thing since '89.
Yes.
Yeah.
And more so, like there's just so much, especially those outer shots of Arkham in the Arkham games, like it. And McClung and I were talking. We had a great talk about this yesterday. Like Reeves says he doesn't want to lean into the fantastical, and I think he meant like a Superman. But with this world, and maybe we'll save it for the later in the review. Like, where do they go with this world? How fantastical do they get?
We'll certainly
with
talk
the villains,
about that.
and we could talk about that maybe towards the end.
Yeah.
But this Gotham, phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
1,000%. Even more so in IMAX. I cannot encourage you.
I gotta see it. Yeah.
To go see it on IMAX. One Physics Impulse says, "Hey, good to see you, man. Robert is my Batman. I loved it. I want to see a 4-hour Batman next. LOL. I want to see Mr. Freeze as a villain next. I love you guys."
I think you would need 4 hours to justify how Mr. Freeze exists in the world that's been set up. So maybe you might be right.
Everybody chill. Stephen Turner says that Batman Returns is still my favorite for Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah, I'm not going to deny anybody feeling that way.
Nope.
Don't anybody. I think Zoe. I will say this really quick. I do think Zoe Kravitz is a more accurate Selena Kyle to who Selena Kyle is in the comics, particularly currently.
Right.
But I also think and maybe this is just nostalgia, but I don't think you can touch Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. I love it so much.
That's far.
She's phenomenal. She's fantastic.
Just push her out the window. Simon Section says Batman Begins is still my favorite. Enjoyed the Batman, but call me crazy. The last scene where Batman and Catwoman go their separate ways, I was getting La La Land vibes, but with the Batman, I want a sequel. Interesting. Okay.
La La Land.
I was just wondering.
I was wondering where all the water in Gotham went in that last scene.
Well, they said the National Guard.
But okay, so I'm curious about this. So you guys might be.
But they're out of town there.
Yeah, they're in
Ireland.
Hold on.
I think
because I had a question about this. I was
Scotland.
Like, when they're in he says we've got 5 or 7 vans destroying the seawall.
Yeah,
and it's a area of Gotham. But then there's one scene where Bruce takes where he's racing home to get to Alfred. He goes over a bridge onto another island. So because Wayne Tower's on a different island. So and that means because I was like, well, okay, did the Batcave get washed away because the floods? But no, the Wayne Tower's on a different island because he goes off of a bridge onto a separate island. So
that's Jersey Gotham.
I think that graveyard was on a different, outside the city.
That's right. By the way, them not being
you're being snarky, aren't you?
I'm being snarky. I didn't really care. I was just like, I did think about it. I was like, where's the water? But yes, I was just being snarky. I don't really care. Although I do think that when you get into where Matt Reeves does seem to want to be going, which is a lot about privilege versus not privilege, the rich of Gotham versus the poor of Gotham. Maybe if there's one part of Gotham that didn't get flooded and one that did, that might be really interesting because I did notice that he does go over that bridge to get to the Wayne Tower. So it's a really good point that you bring up.
And that's one thing, Michael, as I was watching it the third time around, is it really struck me. He deconstructs the Batman story. He really does go after it in a way that isn't necessarily destroying it. It's a way of exposing ways that we've accepted this story for decades, and now he is kind of undercutting it a little bit by exposing the idea that there's an inherent sense of classism in this story, an inherent sense of the haves versus the have-nots, of white rich people worrying about them when we don't care about people of color who experience the loss of parents, whose parents are killed every day randomly by thugs, by criminals, by what have you. And so I like that they took the piss out of the story a little bit. Even Selena is like on the nose with it when she says near the end, all these people care about are these white privileged rich people, when in fact there's real people dying and stuff like that. So she says, I thought you'd be on Riddler's side more than anything else. So it's a great exposition of it without tearing it apart and making fun of it, which I really appreciate.
And they make that great scene with the Riddler. He was like, Bruce Wayne, he's like, no, he wasn't like us. He sat up in his ivory tower.
Right.
We sat there and had to kill a baby every year. So it was, Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was,
I think they said a baby died because it was cold.
I don't think
Let's
they
just
were
hold on. Like, I don't know
killed
what
a baby
movie,
every year. I
I
thought
don't know
we were
what
talking
movie you were watching. Yeah, then every year we killed a
this isn't
baby in
like
our ceremony.
This wasn't like Snowpiercer. They got to eat a baby to survive there.
It's getting cold. Find a
I
newborn.
want to eat a baby.
Yeah, I know what it likes to eat a baby. That's why I can't lead you.
Why are you showing me this?
Hey, well, what are you doing? Who's your favorite Catwoman? Mine is still Pfeiffer. Real quick, around the horn. Favorite Catwoman?
Ooh.
Yeah, like I said just a 2 seconds. I think Zoe Kravitz is the most comics accurate Selina Kyle we've gotten.
Okay.
Like she is literally the Selina Kyle of Batman Year One.
Mm-hmm.
She is the Selina Kyle of Tom King's Bat and Cat run. But Michelle Pfeiffer is probably still my Catwoman.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Gentlemen, any disagreements? Anybody else?
Nope, thus far, I mean, I think Zoe Kravitz has room to eclipse her, but at the moment, it is still Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, because someone made a good point. They're like, she's not Catwoman yet. She's
Right.
She's not Catwoman.
She's Selina.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
will she get there? Of course. But there was a lot that Hathaway did that really surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
In
I
a
think
sense
Hathaway
that-
was great.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
she was great,
she did a lot in that film, especially that one scene where she turns on a dime.
Yeah.
when
Oh, yeah,
as
at the
cops
beginning.
come busting. I was like, that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
It's
So-
a great performance in a meh movie.
Oh my
Yeah,
God. Here you go.
okay, I'll go with you on that one.
I like when she looks through the fence and she realizes what she has brought upon Bruce Wayne through Bane. When she realizes the ferocity and she's like, I was complicit in making this happen. And there's a sense of responsibility and horror that she feels. which is
So
great.
all of them so far, there's not been a bad one.
No,
there hasn't been a bad one.
I mean,
What I
look,
did-
think
what I did
Kravitz does have the
appreciate-
potential to kind of be the Catwoman.
yeah.
What I did appreciate about, and this is a small thing, and I think I love Michelle Pfeiffer. I think Anne Hathaway did a great job. All the other Catwomen, just given the natures of the stories, do get just sort of wrapped up in the Batman story. Like Michelle
Right.
Pfeiffer's Catwoman very quickly just defaults to, hey Penguin, let's team up and take care of Batman for reasons. And Anne Hathaway also gets into like, well, okay, to get what I want, I'm going to betray Batman. What's interesting about Zoe Kravitz's Selina Kyle is she almost is like except for when she's like, hey, will you help me do what I want to do?
Yeah.
She stays on her own path. Like Selina Kyle's story is very much Selina's story. She doesn't let the man's story overtake her story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for Annika. I'm taking this money. I want to get revenge on the people that fucked up her life and my life, and I'm getting the fuck out. And I do kind of like that this Selina Kyle is just very like, it's not about let me get wrapped up in Bruce's story. It's very much like, here's my goal.
I mean,
I'm Selina Kyle.
That scene where you're using the context and he's
Yeah.
like, no, wait, stay on them, and she takes off. It's like,
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah,
It's
it's
just-
just a great point.
She's built her life to survive, and so she's
Yeah.
going to get the answers when she needs to get them. And even when Batman calls her out, was that what it's worth, selling your life out for some money? And she's like,
Oh,
"Fuck you,
yeah.
rich boy, fuck you, rich boy. I had to do what I had to
Yeah.
do. You must be rich because you wouldn't understand it." This situation.
the-
I like once again
how-
deconstructing the myth of Batman. I love
How
it.
badly I want the outlaw to be a superhero just so he goes around town using that
Yeah,
voice.
right. That wouldn't look weird at all. I'm not the one wearing hockey pads. Max Cohen says, I don't think we see Bruce until the very end when he leads the people out and comforting the woman. Yes, Bruce didn't exist till he moved past vengeance. That's an excellent
great point.
Yeah,
Great point.
Right?
Great
love
point.
that.
Well said.
Yep, I love that scene too. It reminded me. I know this is weird, but this time around, it reminded me of First Blood when Rambo is
Okay,
walking.
yeah,
All
yeah.
those rats are following behind him as he's got that lighted stick. It was weird in that way. D Train says Giacchino is the man. What's your
Yes.
favorite music theme in a Batman movie? Mine is the music when Bruce climbs out of the pit in The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, I love that scene. That's some great music cue. What do you guys think? What's your favorite music cue?
Man, that's hard. That's hard. I think where I would start
Yeah.
is the theme from Batman Forever and Batman and Robin is on the bottom.
That's a great superhero theme, though.
All right.
Totally disagree. Totally disagree.
Oh,
I thought
I mean,
that movie
Goldenthal
was
score?
that music was terrible.
No,
Terrible.
I
I think-
disagree.
I think Elfman's Batman theme
Yeah.
from the original Batman movie
Okay.
is so iconic. And then I would go over to the Dark Knight, the Batman the Animated Series theme, which is very inspired by the Elfman theme. Like they're very similar. And I think and I said this in the non-spoiler review, I think for 20 odd years, 30 years, that has been the iconic Batman music.
Okay.
And I think Giacchino comes in here and gives us a Batman score that rivals it in a major way. Like when the Batmobile flies through those flames, hits the Penguin's car, Penguin flips over, he's upside down, and you just see Batman calmly walk out through those flames as that score is just like pounding in your ears.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, this is now the Batman music. This is it.
Yeah, you tweeted about this, Mike.
Yeah, when they released his single for the Batman, there was two themes in there. There was that real kind of hopeful, and then there was the dun dun dun, like that we know is Batman's theme now. Like, what is this? But now watching the movie, and I have it's All's Well That Ends Farewell. It's track 25. That is that hopeful theme at the end when he drives away from Selena. That to me is rivaling like the Elfman stuff right now.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to.
But like the Elfman stuff is so
iconic.
Ingrained in us. And like I remember from the Flash trailer, it was just those couple notes of Bruce Wayne's theme when you see the house and you're just like, oh my god, it's Batman.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, wonderful score.
But I also feel like we're skipping over Hans Zimmer though. I mean, just going to Batman Begins. Like, before you get to Dark Knight, before you get to Dark Knight Rises, there's so much good music. There's so many good themes in there, especially their Batmobile chase. I feel like that music is just as solid.
My brother's gonna yell at me about this. I love Hans Zimmer, and I think but I think that Hans Zimmer of the past several years, I think that Hans Zimmer's music, I will say that Hans Zimmer's music and what he brings to movies now, and I kind of include some of Dune in this and everything else, is perfect when you're watching the movie, but not necessarily the music that you want to just listen to without the visuals.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Can I chime in here?
Please.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know the small horrors are going crazy right now. It's Raining Vengeance is my favorite track on the Giacchino score. That one is the best one, and I think it might be my favorite one of all the cues. That one speaks my language more than any other cue for sure.
Okay.
Fantastic 314 says, for a first of three movies, I absolutely love this film. A great start that really gets me excited for the future. Can DC continue the momentum is what I want to know. And Matt Reeves knows how to kick off a trilogy. Kalinowski has not confirmed, I don't believe officially that it's a trilogy.
I know, like, I don't know, because you guys, I think we've all talked about this. I cannot stand when a filmmaker goes, we're building a trilogy. Like, we're starting, like, get people involved with the first one, but I think he said we have a plan. We know what I would do for 2 and 3.
Right.
And it seems like everyone, like when Pattinson popped into the theater, I was at my second viewing. He's like, guys, please talk about this film, hype it up. I want to make a sequel. We want to make another one. I don't think it's a goal. I don't think it was ever like greenlit, but I think they've got the idea.
It will literally be announced within 48 hours.
I agree 100%.
Given the box office of this weekend, they are 1,000% going to announce they're making the next movie right now.
And I will say this, building that, like, he's got Penguin coming out, there's the Arkham thing. The world, like he said, he loves this world. I hope it goes beyond 3 movies. I think he would stay with 3 and kind of be a shepherd for what's going to go in this Bat-verse.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Pattinson who said what you're talking about to Empire. He said, I've made a kind of a map of where Bruce's psychology would grow over 2 movies. That's what he said. And Variety reported in 2019 in November that the key cast members have, quote, contract options to appear in sequels and standalone films. So WB nor DC Films has said it's a trilogy, but Pattinson said that he has an idea for what he wants to do over the next 2 films.
Probably gets, I know, like the producer said, we'll guarantee it's out in 5 years. Within 5 years, the sequel.
Right on.
He had said that recently. He's like, we guarantee within 5 years the sequel will be out. So
maybe even less. Maybe.
Yeah.
Surprised.
They're just buying themselves a little wiggle room.
Yeah.
Considering this movie was supposed to be out 2 years ago, I think.
That's true with COVID and everything.
I mean, literally, the second one should be done and ready to go at this point.
Make that money. Jay McMall says, it's early, but is there a character you want to see? Give me Ace the Bat Hound, LOL. And we've seen it, but I'd love Dev Patel as a young up-and-coming Harvey Dent.
Wow, interesting. I like that.
Yeah. Another person of color. Can the white guy? Can white people handle that? I don't know.
I think my big, the Joker. We can talk more about that Joker scene at the end.
Yeah.
I'm with John on it. I wasn't overly thrilled with its execution, but I was way more intrigued in the fact that the reporter that Carmine that Falcone killed was named Edward Elliot.
Yeah.
And then they had the giant Hush name come up, right? Because it was all about hush money. I'm way more interested in seeing what Matt Reeves would do with a Tommy Elliott Hush character than I am with what's going on with this Joker business. Like, I also, and I know Kalinowski tweeted this, so I will not be the first to say it, but given where they're going, but the whole Court of Owls would make perfect sense for this version. And those are two things that have really, in the past, several years in the comics, two things that were more new to the Batman mythos that really stuck, both Hush and the Court of Owls, that we've never seen on screen that I think could be super interesting, and both feel like right for this version of Gotham and this world.
Isn't there a Hush animated film? Isn't there? Damon the voice of?
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah. So great point, Mike. So I think the first card being an owl was a kind of a wink to that people, to let people know that Court of Owls is something they might be thinking about in the future for sure. Stephen Turner.
Hugo. Sorry, I was going to say Hugo Strange is a perfect fit for this type of world. I mean, he seems like he would probably be like a movie 3 villain. Like you have to get Batman more established with the public.
Awesome.
Professor Pig.
That's what I was talking about. With McClung, I go Professor Pig.
Creeps me the fuck out.
Big old meaty pig mask on him. Oh God! Like
there you go.
I mean,
Kalinowski, you're booked.
I'm booked. Yeah.
You're booked. I
don't know who else I would love to see. Like I'm in the fact and I'm sure I'll get crap for this. If they never show Joker like a big storyline with him, I could care less. Like
good luck.
I don't need him.
Good luck.
I know it's synonymous and we got to have him somewhere, but give us.
I don't think you do need to have him. I mean, I'm kind of with you on this. Like, and not that I think that Heath Ledger is so good that you can never do a good Joker again, but I just think we've seen so many versions of the Joker that doing something new and fresh and different is so hard. So unless you're like really gonna go for it in a major way, I think there are so many other characters that it's like I think Matt Reeves did such a great job. Again, my issues with like the last kind of like the third act aside, I think he did such a good job reinventing Riddler to be this Seven-esque creepy ass villain that I'd much prefer to see what he would do with a Professor Pig, with the Court of Owls, with Tommy Elliott as Hush, than seeing like a joke, look, or maybe that scene is what it was, and he's gonna come out with a Joker in this next movie that we're just like, oh fuck, and we're gonna get like the third movie will be the War of Jokes and Riddles, and we'll be like, well, fuck, I was wrong, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Ooh, well, I mean, good point. Good point. War of Jokes and Riddles.
Reeves said that he does not see Keegan being the full Joker in the next movie. It'll be him working towards becoming the Joker, kind of like we've seen Selena work towards becoming Catwoman, Bruce Wayne work towards becoming the Batman. It'll be a work in progress. So we might not get the full Joker we're thinking about. It might be a whole new approach, which would be interesting if they pull it off. Stephen Turner says, we need the multiverse of meowness with all live-action Catwomen, Zoe, Michelle, Hallie, and Anne. It would gay rights. I don't know what that means.
It would be gay rights. It would just be gay rights.
It would be gay rights. I grew up wanting to be Hallie's Catwoman for real. Would love Zoe to get a spinoff. Certainly, the Penguin's getting a spinoff.
And they've talked about it. Reeves said they've definitely talked to plans with Zoe Kravitz and her. What's going to happen with her?
Yeah.
I do love this world that we live in. I was talking to somebody about this today. I love the world that we live in where you can talk about having these spin-off series on HBO Max, a Penguin series, a Selena series, and knowing that it would be a premiere series with that actor or actress playing the role, with Matt Reeves overseeing it, so that it's not just some kind of cash grab of like, oh, well, this character's popular, let's do our own thing, but like something that was of equal quality that fed into what this next movie would be. Like, that's really just an exciting time to be a part of all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, J. Mac Mall says, does the film excite you for the HBO Max shows that are coming?
Definitely.
100%.
Definitely. Watching the character work that Colin Farrell has done in the last few years, like thinking specifically like The Gentleman, the Guy Ritchie movie. I mean, watching what he does when he's not put into that leading man role, it's so cool. And giving a supporting character their own show, which does make him a leading man, like that's true technically. But having him, I wasn't sure what an Oswald Cobblepot show would be prior to seeing this movie. At the end of the movie, even though there were quibbles that I had with it, I'm like, I cannot wait to see the Penguin show with Colin Farrell buried under a ton of prosthetics.
Oh my God, yes.
The only thing I have with these shows would be that you've set such a high bar, production wise, quality wise. You've got to keep like the sets, that atmosphere. It's gotta. You can't look like, oh, we're in LA and we're kind of. They created that whole. I don't know what the tech. I think was it stagecraft, is it called? Where like all those scenes where they're in the bat signal, that was a giant LED screen.
Right.
All that the volume.
Yeah.
I think that's what Star Wars uses. But
Yeah.
I think it's called
Is that
stagecraft.
what they used?
I
think the term is called stagecraft.
It's a similar technology though, where you're able to have that background, and it's not green screening. You're actually the background is there, the actors can see it, and it's being lit in a way that is realistic, so that you don't get those weird sort of glows.
Right. These shows keep that same light because it's so good. It's got to look like that. As long as it looks seamless, bring them on.
Yeah. The Lion King VR allowed Matt Reeves to build the Gotham in the 3D space, working with Reeves and cinematographer Greg Fraser. This is what the people involved said. I introduced Matt to VR, and I was thrilled to bring that tech to the Batman. We designed all of the sets in 3D using the Unreal Engine, and we were able to develop camera tools, allowing us to storyboard the entire film using the real lenses. We were wireframing sets. We could piece it together to deliver what Matt needed. It was very efficient for shot blocking and entirely director-driven. So, that's the kind of technology they were using. Pretty interesting stuff there. Jughead1 says, hi, John, Michael, Shannon, and Mike. Just seen the Batman. Wow. Fantastic. Bat Bale is still my favorite Batman, but Bat Pat is awesome. Love and respect to you all from the UK, guys. There you go.
I mean, look, gravelly voice aside, Christian Bale was a fantastic Batman and Bruce Wayne. And knowing that this is just the start of where Pattinson is, I mean, it's only good stuff from here.
Yeah, a lot of performers kind of grow into a role. I mean, that guy in Begins, that for an hour he's not even in the suit, and you still were invested. So that speaks volumes of his Bruce Wayne and Batman. So he was fantastic, and nothing changes that.
Yeah. Real quick, guys, we have 256 likes when we have over 520 you watching.
Come on.
So please hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds to swing your mouse over there and hit that thumbs up button. Do it, for God's sakes. D-Train says, favorite Gordon, Gary Oldman or Jeffrey Wright? Ooh, man.
This is a great conversation.
Jeffrey Wright.
Can we just say, like, the fact that, like, when they're sitting there and he's like, and he's always like, come on, man. Like, calling him, like, there was a history in just calling him man.
Yeah.
And that scene with the two where he's like knocking him in the chest, like, come on, man. Like, you felt like there's just, God, I mean, he was so good. So
I said this in the non-spoiler review, but I'll say it again. Like, I think that Jeffrey Wright and Robert Pattinson have the best chemistry out of anyone in this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
I think any scene where the two of them are together is golden. And as what Kalinowski said, like, with Batman Begins, into Dark Knight, into Rises, Gary Oldman is amazing. Like, it's fantastic. And you get to see this guy that kind of meets Batman for the first time, grows into this relationship with him, and it's great. But the dynamic between Pattinson's Batman, who is so pulled back, and Jeffrey Wright kind of leading him in, and the addition of having like Commissioner Savage just being like, get him the fuck, like the fact that all the other police were so
is he involved in this?
Is he involved in this thing? But the fact that, again, this is what I mean by like building those contrasts, like having all of those other police and Commissioner Savage be so not on Batman's side, and Jeffrey Wright kind of leading him through. It just like, it speaks volumes for the trust that these two are kind of placing in each other, and it just made it great. Like, they were literally my favorite thing about this whole movie.
Yeah, and like two things that I wanted to say. I mean, Nolan and Goyer understood the importance of the Gordon character. Like, that was something that was sort of not really recognized with the Burton and the Schumacher movies. Yeah, like James Gordon is an incredibly important character.
That's why you cast Pat Hingle. You don't think it's that important. Pat's a good actor, but he's not gonna develop the same chemistry. Right, exactly.
But the casting of Gordon across the board, and throw J.K. Simmons in here too.
Yeah, sure.
They have done some fantastic casting of James Gordon, and like, we're going to get to see more of J.K. Simmons in Batgirl, but across the board, they have done such a good job with finding these tremendous actors for this role. And like thus far, like my instinct is to go Wright, because he, even though like Gary Oldman was great and those scripts are great, Wright has such better material to work with because they really take advantage of that first dynamic duo, the Batman and the Commissioner.
I agree with you guys. There's more of a composed hang-doggedness to Jeffrey Wright's approach than there is to Gary Oldman's approach. Even though Gary Oldman's approach is fantastic and works for Nolan's Batman films, this one feels more street-level authentic. You know, you can sense that when you watch him. And you're right, Mike. He uses man all the time.
Oh, it's so great. He doesn't call him Batman.
Yeah, I don't even know what your real name is, man. Yeah.
Well, there's just even the casualness of him, like he's like when they walk into the mayor's garage and Batman's like what, you don't trust me? And he was like, what, like you trust me? It's been 2 years. I don't know who you are. Like there's just this casualness, and I think that it's almost because Bruce, even with Alfred, there's such a distance with everybody that the fact that this one guy, he has this casual relationship where this guy can like talk, like it stands out because it's so different from the way that Batman talks to or interacts with literally anyone else in the film.
It's a great point. Like, you wonder if the background is there that Jim Gordon did put his jacket over that young Bruce Wayne at 9 years old. So there's a sense of an almost father-son relationship dynamic there. And the fact that Gordon is the one who walks him into these places to let him be the detective he wants to be, to let him contribute in some way. So there's naturally a stronger relationship there than with anyone else. Sorry, guys.
You say something. I'm thinking about it. I was trying to correct myself, and I don't think he ever speaks to anyone else. He only talks to Gordon in those rooms when he's in the crime scenes.
Well, I mean, Gordon isn't there, but he talks to Martinez. Like, and that's when Gordon.
Well, that's it. But I'm saying when Gordon's with all the cops.
I don't think he does talk to Martinez.
But I don't think he ever.
He tells Martinez.
He tells Martinez to call Gordon, but in that whole sequence, he literally ignored, like Martinez comes in and he's like, "Hey, you shouldn't be doing that," and he just looks at him, and then he takes the thing out, and Martinez is like, "Oh yeah, my dad worked in this thing." He doesn't talk to Martinez. He shines the light at him as if like, "Okay, now you can speak." And then he opens up the whole thing. I actually don't think he speaks to Martinez until they're watching the video, and then he just says, "Call Gordon." Like is the one thing he says.
Like, but in the main. Anytime there's like 20 cops and CSI on, he's not talking. Like the one scene where something, but that line was brilliant. He's still year 2, but he's like, his finger is post-mortem or whatever, because you could see the whatever on the crystallization of the blood. Like that's just brilliant stuff.
Get him out of here.
And like you guys mentioned earlier, but I'm sorry. Like people, there are the diehards that want him to have white eyes, the lenses. No, he did so much eye acting in this movie. That spoke volumes.
Robert Pattinson's eyes deserve their own award.
They're fantastic. Fantastic eyes.
Sucked just sent some money, so thanks.
Sucked.
There you go.
You know what that didn't? Sucked.
Yeah, that's true. And then follows up going, was anyone else reminded of RoboCop every time Batman stomped through the shadows? No, I was more reminded of a Western. I was reminded of a sheriff. I was reminded that whole thing, especially in that penguin scene when he's upside down, you see him coming with the flames coming. That is you could almost hear the Western theme song as he walks slowly towards the car to grab yet another bounty. So I didn't sense RoboCop. Did you guys sense RoboCop?
Well, no, I mean I get the comparison
because the sound.
It was the volume. It was the volume. Like when RoboCop comes in, there's an audible boom, 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 and it's the same thing for Batman. But I also get what you guys are getting more from the Western vibe. Like if you were to hear a spur at the end of each of those steps, it wouldn't have been a surprise.
There is a little bit like in the sound, like when you watch him when he steps in, like just like with his suit, there is a slight jangling in the sound design. When it's not just stomping boot. There is a slight jangle that is spur-esque.
Yeah. It almost feels like a chandelier shaking a little bit. I hear what you're saying, Mike. There's a little bit of a timbre right at the end. Stephen Turner says, any villains you want to see Reeves use? I want Ivy as a badass eco-terrorist. So bad. Interesting. Poison Ivy.
It does beg the question of, and again, I know we said we were going to talk about this later, but we talked about some of the villains we'd like to see, but with Ivy and Freeze, it really is like how far...
Fantastical.
How fantastical will this version of the Reeves universe go?
Yeah.
This is literally the conversation Kalinowski and I had yesterday.
Yeah. I think
in between doing shows.
I believe Freeze could work in the sense that he wears a suit and he's like his skin is frostbitten. Like you see the gangrene and the frostbite, and he has to wear this contained suit to keep it hermetically sealed so it doesn't, just rot and fall off. I would love to see, and I think it can work, Man-Bat. I think he's an experiment of something like just more man than Bat, but just
you're just really keeping it grounded, huh?
Yes, sir. I think because I use this, Mike, and where I'm going off of is the Arkham games, because there's so much of the production design that is Arkham. I just think it could fit in that. I think it could.
Okay.
This, but see, like to the Mr. Freeze point that you were making, Kalinowski, like that's a great design idea. Right. But with the world that they have established thus far, like obviously things can change, things can evolve. But the world that they've established right now, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that science is not established. Like that's a little too fantastical. And I agree with what you're saying about Man-Bat would look great in that grounded world, but it's just not in this world.
To what you're saying, and what I don't want then is he's he's a hitman. They call him the Iceman because he kills people. I don't want that. I don't want that. If you're not going to do it, don't half-ass it. And I don't think they will. I don't think they will. But I don't want. They call him the Iceman, Mr. Freeze, because he's so cold when he kills, and he leaves them, in frozen lockers somewhere. Like, don't do that.
I think that this world.
Yeah, Goodfellas, Frankie number.
I think that Reeves, as opposed to Nolan made such a point. Like, part of the Nolan Batman trilogy is I'm going to explain everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you where he built this stuff, Applied Science Division at Wayne Tech. Everything was very specifically grounded.
Yeah.
Matt Reeves, as much as this feels like a real Gotham, we don't know where Batman got all that technology. We don't really explain it. None of it is so outlandish that it feels weird, but we don't go to great lengths to explain it. He's got the cool contacts that record everything. Cool, he ordered them somewhere. I don't need to know. But I don't think that Reeves is going to such lengths to say that this is a grounded universe. He did something really cool and interesting with Riddler, but this is a Gotham that I think could have a character, to Kalinowski's point, have some experimental prototype thing that turned him into a bat, and that wouldn't feel out of place in this very Gothic stylized world. So I think it's within the realm of possibility.
Okay. Nathan Thomas says Gotham is flooded. Seems perfect for Mr. Freeze to show up next. Yeah, maybe he's in scientists. Something happens. The water coming in, short circuits. Could turn him into that. That's possible. Who knows?
He sings Let It Go in the middle of the movie.
Okay. There it is. One Fixes Impulse says, who should play Lucius Fox? Do you want Lucius Fox? And if you do, who should play him? By the way,
but I don't
we got a
want
bunch of these to get through, so I'm trying to get through them as quickly as possible.
Sorry.
I know you guys like to go. We'll do a 3-hour review at this point, but go ahead. Yes.
I do, but I don't want him being any kind of tech guru that gives him his power, gives him his gadgets and stuff. Let him be a finance guy for Wayne Enterprises.
I feel like Alfred could fill the role of Lucius Fox in the next, that kind of thing.
Not really. I mean,
I want to see Batman be the guy building it on his own.
Yeah, fair.
John, let me tell you how companies work. You don't give the butler the big job. The butler's working at home. The butler's doing the butler things.
Oh my! Yikes!
The butler's doing ciphers. Butler work.
He seems pretty intelligent. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying. By the way, I'm not shading butlers.
Back in the circus,
I think butlers can be super intelligent. The skill set of being an amazing, super intelligent butler is not the same as the skill set of working at a giant Fortune 500 company.
Look, Jeffrey from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air wants a word with you. Gabrielle Scheiber says, where can I get the Bruce and Selena used? Oh, where can I get the bags Bruce and Selena used? Selena somehow got 4+ cats into one bag? Bit of a stretch with Bruce's backpack, but minor gripe.
Well, I'll say this.
You can buy them at Mary Poppins.
Are you talking about the scene where Bruce is kind of in the hood and the hat? If you look at that scene, and I remember because the action figure, he's really bulky. He's got his bat suit underneath those clothes. He carries the bag for the cowl.
You can tell.
Yeah, you see his back. It's kind of ridged like the cape.
I love that. Jacket's on top, right?
Yeah, I love that he just kind of bulked himself up. He carries around the cowl. That's brilliant. Selena, I don't know. That with the cats, I have no idea.
I don't throw cats into bags.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Jared
saw
Harris
this in
as Hugo Strange. Jesse Plemons as Professor Pig. Make it happen.
Lemons is Pig, dude. Well done.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that, and I'll give you credit, buddy, because that is well done. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Lemons is Professor Pig. Oof.
Joseph Asher saying, "I'd like to see Scarface and ventriloquist."
That could work.
Maybe that could work.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's
Working this
like
way.
that would be a great like opening sequence bad guy. Like I don't know if
He's not a
that-
big
you know-
bad.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think you build a movie around that.
Does
But,
Calendar
like,
Man work in this universe?
I think so.
Like it does.
Yes.
I mean,
Derek
they talk
Johnson-
about long. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mike. What were you gonna say?
They talk about the long Halloween influence, but
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, they really didn't do the holidays. They mentioned
No,
it starts on Halloween night, so it's still ripe to go there.
Yeah.
This entire story is done in 6 days. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I just watched again. He says November 6th right at the end.
No,
So
I mean
it's
like
done in
the
6 days.
Falcone stuff, the Selena Falcone stuff. Like there's definitely a lot of inspiration from Long
Yes,
Halloween,
sure.
but they didn't do Long Halloween.
Right. Yeah.
Derek Johnson saying, buddies, love the show. Can't watch live tonight. I love the movie. Thought it was a great representation of Gotham, but honestly, I'm just exhausted of Batman. I love the show. Great to see Kalinowski on. There you go.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much.
Batman and Spider-Man are the two most filmed superheroes, and
Yeah.
so many people talk about, oh, we've got Spider-Man fatigue, we've got Batman fatigue, but you look at the performance of No Way Home, and you look at this opening box office on Batman, and like, as much as people might feel fatigued, there's something that works with these characters. Like, we want to keep seeing them on screen for some reason.
I've come to this feeling that it's the nerds that feel fatigued, not regular people who are out there just living their lives. They want to see a fun Batman movie, fun Spider-Man movie. They're not sitting there like Charlie Day trying to connect all the dots of all the movies. They just want to go have fun at a movie theater. And so it's us nerds who are necessarily fatigued by it because we're always trying to find out more about it.
Yeah.
It's the other regular people who go and see it who aren't necessarily fatigued by it. I would say.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I don't know Derek's feelings on Batfleck, but if that was sort of not his jam, then I could see like, oh, they're doing Batman again. Like I understand the point of view, even though I don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, there's 20 different Batmans in comics, for God's sake. So, Max Cohen versions, I mean. I want nothing more than someone to redo Freeze. He can be so menacing, even with a polar bear. My dream is Fantastic meets Grounded. Yeah. I'm down with that. I think we're all down with that. Simon Section saying, the only Joker I'm interested in seeing is the Batman who laughs. How's that for a cliffhanger ending? I believe Robert Pattinson can deliver.
The Batman Who Laughs is scary.
I'm not a fan of that take.
You're not?
It's just not my thing.
I kind of dig it.
Not my thing.
Is that the super artsy
Skinny with
super arts-
with the thing around his eyes.
Yeah.
spikes all around it.
I'm with you, Kalinowski. That was not.
I think did he come out of Batman Metal, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Batman
It's an
Metal.
alternate.
I
mean,
love
it's-
Scott Snyder to death, but that Batman Metal lost me. It lost me.
It's a lot, but it's like what is he? He's a Joker from a world where Bruce became the Joker. It's a whole thing. Like there's a whole.
I know.
But it's kind of fun.
Okay.
Yeah. Derek Johnson saying, I want to see more DC characters. Example, Blue Beetle. I'm just tired of Batman, Superman on repeat. I grew up on DC. First comic characters I ever read was Flash. I've been starved for a Flash movie, but now DC just has a sour taste for me a little. Well, you're going to get that Flash movie with a Batman in it. So
Yeah.
As someone who agrees with you about that sour taste from DC films, I agree with you. I think that the challenge is that with the, and you know, everyone can argue with me about this, but with the exception of Wonder Woman, I feel like Warner Brothers has not landed. The Nolan films were great, but as with the whole DCEU, as much as Henry Cavill's Superman has the people who love it, and as much as people really enjoyed Batfleck, in general, neither of those really sparked everybody in a way that really like were a unabashed success.
Yeah.
And so I think that until you get those right, you don't get to do the secondary and tertiary stuff because everyone's trying to get it. I think with this movie, Warner Brothers very comfortably is like, we have a Batman that really, really works.
Yep.
And we're going to see what happens with the Flash movie. But I'm 100% with you. I mean, I would love for them to figure out a Superman that really fits into their universe and where they're going now, or a Superman much like this Pattinson thing and the Reeves thing that goes on and like is its thing. But I want to see all these secondary. DC has so many amazing characters that they could really dive into, and I want to see them explore them.
I think it's in a good place now where they're realizing that, okay, let the filmmakers make the story they want to make. Like, whoever thought 2 years ago we'd get a Peacemaker show that it was one of the best things we've seen in DC.
Yeah.
1,000%.
So that speaks, the fact that we got that Peacemaker speaks volume. We could get a Blue Beetle TV show, and we're getting Blue Beetle.
Yeah,
I mean, we are getting Blue Beetle.
We are getting it. Like I forgot about that. We are getting Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and Ted
Getting Blue
Cord
Beetle
will be
on
in
HBO
that.
Max.
We're getting
There will
back
be a
at-
Ted Cord.
We're
in that.
getting Justice Society for fuck's
Yeah,
sake.
so-
We're getting so much here that we can really sink our
Yeah.
teeth into with different interpretations, different points of views, different vibes, which I think is really important too. Let's see, these two back-to-back here from the Jughead. It says, hi, John, Michael, Shannon, and Mike, back again. I can't believe that we have over 200 suckers in here not liking your content. Yeah, that's right. We had 200 of you who have not liked the video yet. Like the video. I thought I would just drop some more, get it? Love and appreciation. If I can super chat all the way from friggin' London, then the 200 chumps in here can hit that like button. More love and respect to you all the way from the UK, guys.
I mean, you heard him, guys. I mean, that's coming all the way from London. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You better go click that like button.
But I heard it with something like out of Guy Ritchie. I heard it with an accent from Guy Ritchie, something out of Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, Jason Statham. Sounds like Jason Statham.
Walking super chat from friggin' London. King Sport Gal says, I like the film, but I don't see what all the fuss is about. I really dislike the portrayal of the Riddler. Falcone was weak. The Batmobile was dope. All right.
Agree on the Batmobile. Falcone being weak. That is the first time that I've heard that critique from anyone from the comics initiated and the regular folks. I mean, that's an interesting take.
Calvin's
not what I got.
Calvin always comes in with strong points of views, whatever, but he's always fair. Like, I like this, I didn't like this. So I respect what you're saying, man. If you didn't like the portrayal of the Riddler, I get it. It does have those Seven vibes, does have the Zodiac vibes, so it's inspired by that. And then Falcone, I didn't think it was weak, but I understand what you're saying. Maybe you felt that he should have been more of a prevalent part of the movie. Should have seen more scenes with him to really establish him rather than being talked about how dangerous he is. I can see that. I don't necessarily agree with you, but I can see that.
Fair enough.
Let's see. Cooley High says, love the movie, fam. I would love to see Mr. Freeze. Who would you cast for Freeze? Daniel Craig, maybe? Anyway, y'all be easy. Thank you, Cooley. You're the best.
Kevin Hart.
Oh, my head.
Okay.
Can't you see I'm frozen here, man? I'm frozen here, man. Can't you see I'm frozen here, man? No, I don't think Kevin
Okay. One of the things about our friend Michael Vogel, even though he has this incredible imagination when it comes to developing stories, not just original, but things from established properties. Whenever you want to talk about fun fan casting, guarantee he's going to come in with a hilarious.
You guys, that's my wife. I gotta unfreeze my wife. She'd be great.
Okay, Batman, I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna give you what you want. But first, let me pull out my freeze gun. So excited! So excited to freeze you! So excited!
Kevin Hart as Mr. Freeze versus The Rock's Black Adam in the scene. I don't know. DC might explode. Sebastian Cosme tried to send something in, nothing came through. Alvaro Vera Cespedes says, is it Venom that is injected in the final fight? No, it's adrenaline, right?
Adrenaline, right?
I was torn because I think it's adrenaline, but Batman did use Venom before Bane was in the comics.
Okay, that's fair because it's green, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They need to make that green for a reason. They made that green for a reason.
If you're just gonna do an adrenaline thing, it could have been anything. That was such a clear, bright green liquid that I kind of like. And look, they probably, I don't know that they fully decided. I know that like Pattinson said he has idea of the psychology of Bruce, and like it's been talked about that Reeves has plans, but I think they really did hedge their bets here. Like, we know we have this end scene with the Joker. Like I said, the whole Edward Elliot reporter hush thing leans straight towards Tommy Elliott.
Okay.
And I think that, like, I saw that and I was like, oh, this could very easily go down a Venom Bane road. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that was very specific on their parts.
I like in a movie, every single choice, there's no arbitrary choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything. And Reeves, like, you see him talk and the way he's in his production and pre-production, like, it wasn't like a prop guy showed up with like, hey, I need a vial with some liquid, and the prop guy showed up with this green vial. Like, they were like, no, I want it to look like this. I want it to be this shade of green.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to react to this. So and the fact that Venom was with Batman before Bane came in, I was like,
Yeah.
I think that was done.
Yeah.
If it never goes anywhere, fine.
Great.
But the
Fine.
kernel is there.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who regularly takes adrenaline, that's the color. So,
There you
guys,
go.
I don't know
All
what
right.
to tell
Well,
you.
there you go. From the expert.
yeah.
What do you take adrenaline for? What do you take adrenaline for? To, like, walk down the street and buy a coffee quickly? Like, what are you doing?
It's a good thing we don't have 15 more messages to get through. But yeah, all right, what do you take the Venom for, Shannon?
I mean,
And
Michael got it.
You guys are the first ones to complain how long the reviews are. This is why. Brian Newsom says, when Batman was talking to Riddler, it reminded me of the Dark Knight interrogation scene. Yes. And also when Riddler was on live the first time, reminded me when Joker was recording himself on the camera. Right.
Yeah.
We had Anthony Michael Hall upside down or something like that. Yeah. I mean, that actually has shades of Dark Knight. I can see that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean those comparisons are impossible to get past. I mean,
Right.
but that's the world that we live in now.
Yeah.
Like those are the things that you're going to use.
Yeah, exactly. One Fixes Impulse says, I'm seeing the Batman again with my best friend. It's our birthday month. He's just turned 29, and I'm turning 30. I'm old.
Yay!
Okay, calm
Okay,
down.
settle down.
Calm down.
Settle down. You calm down. We'll talk.
Okay.
Happy
Talk about
Uh,
20 years,
That's
pal.
old.
Now, happy birthday to you both.
Derek Johnson says, as a nerd, John, I take offense. LOL. We are over 10 movies deep and over 6 actors into the Batman. I love every casting of Batman so far, but how many times do I need to see him? Spider-Man was 3 actors in 8 movies. Love this show, but now I'm just dumping my money to you guys. I definitely will watch it. Mike, don't be a stranger on this show, sir. There you go.
No, the boys, whenever they want me, I'm theirs.
It's very
I
kind
get
of
the burnout, man. Like I just said
Yeah,
before this movie, like I was even not reading the comic. When I get inspired, I build the bat suits at my house. I read a lot more Batman, but I'd been in a little lull. I was just kind of, yes, it was a lot. It was a lot going on. But when something's good, it fires your imagination. It fires
Yep.
your creativity, especially for me.
And I think you have to give Matt Reeves credit that, like, as we're sitting here talking about it, as much as we've seen so many different versions of Batman, so many different versions of Gotham,
Yeah.
we're all sitting here and we're like, this Batman is giving us things we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This Gotham is a Gotham we've never seen before. So I think, like, again, like, there are certain stories. I mean, we as a culture have, like, mythology that we keep coming back to over and over and over, and Batman is a part of that. And if you start retreading the same
Same way with like Joker, Lex Luthor. But if you do a Superman movie and you throw Brainiac in there, like print that money. Print that money.
Could be fun. One Fixes Impulse wants to know, how old should you be to watch this movie? Look, I'm no dad. I would say 15, but
It pushes the PG-13.
yeah.
There's a couple F-bombs, but the violence.
Just one.
Was
saw
there any
some-
blood?
I saw some 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds in my theater today. And I was like,
That's so young.
You don't know these kids. Let these parents raise their children.
Yeah, I know. I tell someone how the. Like, I saw Lost Ark when I was, 4 or 5.
you're trying to fucking compare Raise
guy gets
Lost
cut
Ark
up-
to this movie?
A
Kalinowski,
guy got caught up in a propeller.
you don't see the
dude.
body
Ripped up in
parts
a
flying into the
propeller.
propeller, though.
Yeah,
you don't see body parts in this film.
movie. You see a thumb.
No, but you see him beating
see
to
a
death
thumb.
somebody.
But
You
you,
see
but
him
John,
punching people.
And
you
the
never
blood.
see him make contact. You see the hand go up and down.
Yeah.
You never see him contact his
Well,
face.
when he hits him from behind and in the God's eye view, you
Oh,
do
yeah,
see him hit him 2 or 3 times. Then you go to him.
Oh, I'm not saying
above
you're
him.
taking. I'm not saying 4-year-olds should be in this theater.
Okay.
But even when he's
13,
like
14.
wailing on that guy, but even when he takes that adrenaline or venom or whatever it is at the end, and he wails on that guy, and like they all have to come and pull him off. When you take that guy's mask off, his nose looks broken, but he's not like bloody. Like they very
What about
specifically.
assassination? Do they say to try to assassinate a political leader there?
But like
There's-
again, even with her, like this happens in animation all the time too. It's like there is a lot of mature stuff happening in this movie.
Yeah.
But what you actually see, to Kalinowski's point, as far as actual blood gushing, like actual contact. Like there's, and we talk about this a lot in the Marvel stuff with like what the Punisher shows did, but like there's a lot of violence, and we said this in the non-spoiler review. It's very intense for sure, but it also is intense in a way that is acceptable for PG-13. And if you have kids who are at a certain level of maturity, even if they're 8 to 10, possibly.
Okay. All right.
I think so.
All right, let's get into some of these Streamlabs because we got so many of them that came through. I took pictures of them because we had so many came through. So I got to bring them up real quick to make sure we get to all of them, for God's sakes. All right, let me see here. Let me get to the first one. It is from Samir. Says, yo, we got Alfred, Joker, Selena, and Batman on the show today. All right, I don't know who's who.
Wait, well, I'm Selena, right?
Alfred, Selena, Joker, and Batman.
Oh, am I Joker? Well, who's Selena?
You would have to be
I guess
Selena.
I think that's
first of all, that's
Selena.
homophobic. But second of all, it's probably accurate.
Whoa!
Wow! Kalinowski and I can fight over who's Batman, I think.
Sure, we'll do that.
Who is?
I think I'm probably Alfred.
Yeah, I would say that. That sounds fair. Francisco Lopez says, "Hey, Geek Buddies and Mike, how you guys doing?" I'm probably the joke. I love the Batman. For me, I think they did everything right, from Batman being a detective and movie is a noir crime thriller like Seven and Zodiac, and I have no problem with the runtime of this movie. I love everybody involved, from actors and actresses, the score, cinematography, and Matt Reeves' direction. Also, I have a question. What are the things that make not only you, but many people love the Batman? Ooh, great question.
What a good question.
I think for me, it's this desire to do what's right, even though all the impulses are there, and his ability is there to do wrong, to go crossing that line. I mean, I love the moments in the film where he's telling Selena not to use guns. Even that exchange with him and Gordon, where he's like, "That's kind of your thing, man."
Yeah, it's your thing, man.
Use gun. I love that. Batman has a code. He has an ethic. He has a code, and that's something to aspire to. There's a nobility in that. Whether he's right or wrong, that depends on your point of view. But I appreciate the fact that he has a code, he has a line he won't cross, and that makes him a hero. You know?
Yeah, he's a regular guy who made a decision. Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I've always really enjoyed with like the good versions. This is someone who, you take into his amazing martial arts, his detective skills. Yeah, those are all choices that he chose to focus on. Those are things that he actively learned, and so that's the thing that's always kind of brought me back to it.
Fair enough. Mike, Kalinowski.
Yeah, I grew up with comics and reading comics, so for me, like especially Batman was my hero. Where some people grew into like sports heroes, and you learn they're fallible people that have. I remember the whole thing with Joe Strawberry. I don't know if you remember the '80s, cheating on his wife and cocaine and all that. And those heroes get tarnished, but Batman and superheroes in general don't get tarnished in stories, but they always come back to the core tenets of being a good person. So that's what it is for me. It's just they're the best of us. We want to be them. We want to aspire to be them, but we, hopefully you try to.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think from sort of like a more broad mythological standpoint, like we are obsessed with monsters. Like from a little age, like we love stories. We love stories about trolls and giants and dragons and witches because they scare us. And so something about the person that was a scared little boy who became a monster to fight the monsters. Like Batman's Rogues Gallery is so monstrous and scary and creepy, and he dresses up as a scary bat to scare them back. And I think that like at some visceral level, something about the scared boy who is scaring the monsters really just gets us at a core level, which is why we just keep coming back to it.
Also, for some people, and I would put myself in this camp, there's a primal desire to mete out some brutal justice on some people who do wrong, and you can live vicariously through that. Especially in this movie, there are moments where he is beating people up, and you're like, hell yes, And so there is an element of that to Batman that in any good portrayal of him that I thoroughly enjoy. Parker Haller says, can't watch live, but love you guys. This is the best Batman portrayal yet. Paul Dano should be in the conversation with Ledger as best villain. Wow. It's funnier than people give it credit for. My second favorite Batman film now. It's not perfect, but neither is The Dark Knight. That's true. That's true. That's true.
Good point.
I am Two Fly Cam says, can't stay to watch, but wanted to support. Great movie, best Batman since Arkham Games. Cheers, gentlemen. What's the thoughts on that?
Agreed. Agreed on the game front. I mean, obviously, it's a different medium and you're, in control, but just the worlds are so similar. The character, I mean, this is Batman in Arkham is who personally I kind of see Pattinson becoming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get out the I agree. I agree.
They don't call him the best color man in the business for nothing, folks. All right, D-Train says went to one of the first screenings in NYC on Tuesday, and we were greeted with an appearance by Pattinson, Kravitz, and Dano. One of the best movie-going experiences I've ever had. I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Can't wait for the Penguin series. No habla español, fellas. Oh, great.
Oh, God.
Yes, by the way.
Come on. Why are you showing me that?
What are you showing me here? Yeah.
Colin Farrell in that scene was just playing Mike Kalinowski.
Get out of here.
I mean, he was calling everybody champ.
Hey, champ! Come on, champ!
Why are you showing me that?
Get out of here! Come on!
El Radalada? El Radalada?
What is this, bad cop, baddier cop?
All right, Jim Fan says, I compare this film to Blade Runner 2049, reclusive, emotionalist protagonist, immersive world building, and a longer paced story. I really like 2049. The Batman really worked for me as well, but I see it not being for everyone who liked that film. I agree with you. If I can go first here, Jim, I agree with you in terms of the world building here. As I said, I made sure to put immersive in my description of this film, because that's what it is. Much like Blade Runner 2049, which I watched last week again, it is an immersive film that you are completely in that world as soon as it starts, if you give over to it. And I feel that way in this film as well. And I also think when we get Selena and those things and her eye and the way he's calibrating, those sounds are the same sounds that you hear in the first Blade Runner when Deckard is trying to kind of do the test on Rachel. So I love that he made an homage to that, which is itself a noir Blade Runner, this being a noir as well. Gentlemen?
I mean, that's been one of my challenges with Denis Villeneuve, is that emotional distance. So comparing it to the Batman, I mean, that lines up. I mean, there are plenty of Denis Villeneuve movies that I do really, really like, but that emotional distance was the thing that I struggled with the Batman as well.
Yeah, the tone for me, like especially Blade Runner-esque, I love, and not to knock any other movie, but if a movie shoots on location, like they shot a lot of this in Scotland because they said the architecture, like you see the breath on their mouths when they're outside. You knew it was cold. You knew it was miserable where they're filming. Like even the subway scene at the beginning, like they were under like an awning and it's still raining. There was just they nailed Gotham. Just like in those movies, they nail was Blade Runner, is it San Francisco or New York? But they go to San Francisco in the sequel, don't they? Or the West Coast? They nail it. Yeah.
Illidan says, to finally see what that metal bat symbol on his chest was for and what it was used for. Great mechanics and very useful. Guys?
Yeah.
I mean, I was one of the people, I thought early on it was the gun that killed his parents, kind of remolded.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I always thought it was. Again, it still could be that he turned it into a knife. But then I see like some of the merchandise, they're saying it was a batarang. They're merchandising, selling it as a batarang. So he never threw it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, and this is, if you guys can answer this, I need to know. What were the things on the spikes on his gauntlets? He never used those.
Climbing things. Weren't those climbing things?
Wasn't that when he was shooting the grapple? Like, wasn't like those?
No, that came out of, it was in his wrist that shot up this way and he grabbed it like a gun. Because you see him pushing it back in.
Right.
I thought they were like gas darts, but he never used them. So if anyone knows what he used those things for, please let me know.
Well, and in terms of the bat insignia, I like.
Yeah. Okay.
I like the bat insignia on the chest being able to be used as a knife far more than Superman in Superman 2 throwing a cellophane insignia.
Whoa! How dare you? That might be the crowning achievement of the Donner films. Was that?
Wow.
I know how much Kalinowski loves every single part of the Superman Donner films, and none of it is cheesy. And
I know you like to crap on me for that, but I adore the Donner films. I even like Superman 2, but I just think that people use it as the golden standard of comic book movies. Need to rethink that.
Otis Berg Otisburg. All right. This flip
Just a
Brian
little
says
place.
Wright was the best. Gordon Oldman's was very good, but lacked the confident command presence. He always seemed a bit nervous. That he's referencing Gary Oldman. JW carried all the dread and all the presence to be the guy who all the clean cops admire and all the dirty cops hide from. He's talking about Jeffrey Wright there. So yeah, I would agree with that.
I would agree with that.
That's
Fantastic
a
point.
great point. Like Oldman always did feel kind of like I don't. Yeah,
He always
that's
felt to step
way-
behind everything. Like
yeah,
he
that's a
did.
great point. And again, that could be in the writing, not in the acting.
Right.
But
But
yeah,
that's what
great
they
point.
needed that Gordon to be for that Batman.
They
That
did. They
Batman
needed the
trilogy.
Batman to be like these. Batman and him were equals in this film. They were equals.
Yeah.
Gary, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
No, this Kalinowski I think really nails it. I think that as much as like with Oldman and Bale, Gary Oldman was always like this, like, well, I'm gonna trust this guy, but Bale was always like, he was always 5 steps ahead. He was always smarter. He was
Yeah.
always doing his thing. Did the whole disappearing thing. Like, you know, you have that moment where Jeffrey Wright and Batman, they both pull up in their cars when Selena Kyle turned on the bat signal, and they're both like, "Did you do this? I thought you did this." And they go up together. Like, there was definitely these two were on the same level vibe that you don't usually get with Batman and Gordon. That I thought really was nice.
All right, we've lost 100 people watching us right now, so let's jump through these. Let's pass through these because I think they want to get reviews, not listen to people's questions. So let's run through these as quickly as we can. You still keep sending them in. Don't get me wrong, but I just want to make sure we get through these. This guy, Adam Jimenez says this goes to show you what you can do when you trust an artist's vision and back them up instead of putting them in a cage and limiting their creativity. Yes, that's a little dig at Marvel/Disney. Ha ha ha. Cheers, guys.
I mean, you could do a dig at Snyder and Ayer. You know, that's not a Marvel versus Disney, Disney versus WB thing. It's let the filmmakers make the film they want to make as long as they're passionate about it. You saw the passion in Reeves, Pattinson, and Kravitz, and Dano, Jeffrey Wright. You saw the passion in them. They're making a great movie.
Yeah.
This is an excellent comment here. Liz Sup donated. She says, I read Selena as bi and was hype as fuck for the representation, but then that turns the death of Annika into not only fridging, but also barrier gaze, and that kind of sucks. I really hope future projects can explore Selena's bisexuality more fully.
Vogel?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think
Resident
that go to the resident gay. You know, it's an interesting thing. Like, fridging comes up a lot. Like, if you are going to have characters in movies, if every time a main character's partner dies, you say it's fridging, you're going to run into a lot of problems because that's something that's going to happen. Like, there's very specific circumstances where it becomes fridging. I don't know that this would count as that. Like,
Okay.
it's really dicey because I like the whole killing your gays tropes is super annoying. But I think that Selena Kyle as a character being bi, here's what I think it really is, and I think you are correct. Like, if you're gonna make Selena Kyle bi, then she should continue to be bi. If she was only bi for this one moment with Annika, and then she is just Batman's girlfriend for the next 2 movies, then that would be really unfortunate. If Selena Kyle being bisexual and being attracted to whoever she is attracted to, and that's always the thing that is constant with her, I think that you can make that work. And it'll be interesting to see if they go down that road. I mean, I think Selena Kyle sort of canonically is attracted to whoever she's attracted to, so I think they should continue to go down that road.
And Michael, I kind of think they kind of try to have their cake and eat it too by not letting us have more time with her so that we would make the connection. And they didn't overtly say she was bisexual. They just walked that line to let you make up your mind. So they didn't fully commit one way or the other. So
in this specific instance, having your cake and eating it too has a specific term, which it would be queer baiting.
I apologize. There we go. All right, fair enough.
Yeah, like there is we're going to give you just enough that the gays can pretend or assume something, but we're not going to fully say it so that we don't alienate the straights. Yeah. And I don't think that that's necessarily what they're doing here, so I'm not saying that this is queer baiting, but that is what, there is the, maybe they could be wink, wink, nudge, nudge. In this, I don't know, but like I said, even from a storytelling standpoint, I think had they made a stance one way or the other with the Annika-Selena relationship, I think it just would have been stronger.
Fair enough. Doug Developer said, thought the Joker in the end was underwhelming. I know it will never ever happen, but would you guys have personally wanted to see Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker in the next film? I think the minds of Pattinson versus Phoenix would have blown audiences away. I mean, his Joker does fit in this universe, could fit in this universe, but he's an older Joker, a more mature Joker, so I don't know how that plays with a younger Batman, it could be very interesting, but they've clearly gone the Barry Keoghan route. So I don't know, gentlemen.
I think the moment, thinking about this movie specifically,
Yeah.
the moment you throw Joaquin Phoenix in there, like even just his voice, I think the movie suddenly stops being about Bruce Wayne. It starts to be about Joaquin Phoenix. That would be my thought.
He overshadows. Is that what you're saying?
It's one thing that this film did so well is that the villain didn't overshadow the hero, and I think we need to stick with that in this world. Every Batman film before this, with the exception of maybe Begins, the villains have overshadowed the Batman.
Yeah.
You know, with the emphasis was put on them. So as long as they stick to that and they think that's what they're going to do, you know, it'd be interesting.
I'm glad they didn't do it because I think it's really funny. When Joker came out, everybody under the sun who was like a big DC person was like, see, you can let these movies be standalone. They don't have to all connect. Let this movie be what it is. And then this movie comes out, they're like, but I really wanted this to be Joaquin Phoenix, though. I'm like, well, then that would be a connection. And you said you liked that the Joker didn't connect.
You know what you said.
So why don't we just stick with that?
Yeah, I agree. I don't want Joaquin Phoenix, and I love the Joker.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Don't want him showing up.
D-Train says, Oscar chances for the Batman. I think it should be nominated for Best Picture. The only two movies to be nominated were Black Panther and Joker, and I consider the Batman in the same league as those movies. The Oscars go for these type of noir films anyway. I certainly think the score should be nominated. I would love this to be nominated, but I can't imagine the Academy would do it.
I've seen crazier things happen, but he needs to get whoever the makeup team was needs to get the Academy Award.
That's fair.
That's Colin Farrell in there is unreal.
Yep.
I think a Best Makeup Oscar nomination is incredibly possible. The same with score. I think March in terms of Best Picture is too early.
Yeah.
Maybe
fair.
production design. Black
Panther came out in February. And
That's true.
It's possible. It's just
possible.
Yeah. Let's see. Carol says, really enjoyed this movie, and I agree with the critics. Everyone mentioned my only two gripes, other than the runtime, are why did it have to look so dark? Even with glasses, I was struggling. Also, what the hell happened to Selena's other cats? Also, fun fact, the kid in the gang from the beginning of the movie plays Tim Drake on DC Titans.
Oh, interesting.
Is that the same guy?
Is it the same guy? I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did wonder that. When she showed up at the end with her cat, I was like, well, I guess she picked a favorite.
Strays. She says she's like, I got things for strays. She just let them go. That's Mr. Whiskers.
Mr. Whiskers. All right, fair enough. Tush Productions. What's up, Tush guys? Says Halloween passes. The sequel is Thanksgiving, and the third movie is Christmas. Gotham hasn't dried because of the budget crisis and anarchy. A realistic Mr. Freeze destroys the temporary seawalls to create a winter wonderland, and we get the Joker on ice. Oh, I think Tushka's having no fun with us.
Hey, I'm on board.
I'm in.
Timothy Williams sends 2 here. He says, I can't watch live, boys, but just want to say g'day, blokes. Gave the movie a 7 out of 10. That also means I really liked it. I'll be going to see it in IMAX this week. Anyways, have a good one, fellas. Love your work. If you get this twice, you're getting double the price. So he just sent it twice, the same message. Thank you, Timothy. Very kind of you. Sean Barreto says, after watching The Batman, which I loved, I think this proves to the world that if Marvel wants to do a Punisher movie or a Daredevil movie, this is how far you can push the PG-13 rating and still have that dark feel to it. What do you guys think?
100%.
I think
100%. Daredevil could be PG-13 easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Agree on the Daredevil, disagree on the Punisher.
Yeah, Punisher, no.
Yeah.
Especially since we've got Bernthal and what he gave and so good.
Yeah, I agree. Sebastian Cosme says, hey, guys, do you think the director's cut would be a rated R? And if so, what do you think would be in it? Oh, I don't think they'd ever.
No director's cut.
I think they've said that there's no rated R.
He said, he's like, that. Everything I
cut.
wanted in this film is in there. There is no director's cut of this. And it's funny when people say that, like, they've shot thousands and thousands of hours of film. There's scenes that have gone on longer. That I'm sure that hospital scene was longer of just them going over stuff, but that doesn't mean there's a director's cut of it.
Right.
You know, he put what he wanted in the movie. They talk about how WB let me make my movie.
Yeah, agreed.
So.
Philly G says, thank you, Geek Buddies. Love this movie. It has the Gotham and Riddler I've been waiting for. Loved how well Colin Farrell and Robert Pattinson were still able to emote through and with their prosthetics and costumes.
Yeah,
Couldn't said it better.
the whole way
Agreed.
through.
1,000%.
Agreed.
As Michael said in our non-spoiler review, the fact that this outfit allowed Pattinson to have way more movement was essential to establishing this most realistic Batman straight out of the comic books.
Yeah.
Well, and this is more to Kalinowski, but to piggyback on that, the fact that they gave him like this collar from the cape, and he was still able to move his head. The reason they gave him that collar was that it didn't look like he had pencil neck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, I thought that was a very smart design.
Oh yeah, because it was with the Bale's one. Like they called him Egghead because he had the head, and then the neck was real thin. They just built it up. They built it to give him like the trap look and look great.
Right.
That collar, that suit, the collar was great on that thing. Oh, so good.
My God, it was right. So good. All right, Jamar Jones says, where do you guys see the Batman character going in a sequel? Let's take this as the next thing we can talk about here. To me, I can't really imagine how he goes back to crime fighting after realizing the bad influence he's had at the end. Well, interesting. I still think he could go back to crime fighting, but he doesn't have to be as brutal and as like vengeance. It's more about stopping those people from hurting innocent people and helping people. So that's the hope he's putting in the city rather than.
Oh, I think I think we get Bruce Wayne. I think he realizes like I've got to have a public face and Batman, and both I've got to work from both ends. And I also, if I can say this for just a second, I think this film nailed something it's not really being talked about because they didn't want to beat it over the head. There's that constant argument in fandoms where it's just like, why doesn't Bruce Wayne just donate his money instead of beating up people every night? And I go, one, there's no story if he does that, but this movie showed what happens when you give money to crime to fight it. The Renewal Project to fight.
Right.
And they used it for 20 years to corrupt Gotham. This movie showed that's what happens when rich people give money to throw at the problems of solving crime.
Right.
The crime took it. You go, okay, thanks for the money. Now we're going to run the city with that. Thanks for that endless supply. Thank you. So
especially when there's no oversight, Kalinowski, which they made a point of stressing. Yeah.
And they didn't go, hey, look what we told you and we did. It's like it's just the story is brilliant.
Yeah, and to go back just a second, and this is super quick, but like, where does Batman go? I mean, maybe he's not beating people until they're unconscious. Maybe now it's like we get the tied up criminal with the note, that has the bat symbol, on it.
What do you think?
Which is comics accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I also don't think that what Batman is realizing at the end of this movie is that he's not going to still frighten criminals,
right?
But that there's more that he can do. It's not about doing less. It's about doing things differently or adding more to what you're doing. Like him just being there to help the people at the end, him being there to hold that girl's hand as she's getting taken up, like adding that to what he's already doing, I think makes him a more well-rounded hero. And so I think that this is all about him building all the pieces of his arsenal. Right now, he's just all about vengeance.
Right.
Moving forward, not only is he going to maybe adjust how he is in the costume, but to Kalinowski's point, adding that Bruce Wayne aspect. Like, I have a feeling that Mare Real is going to continue to be a major character. I don't think that she was just a one-off. I think that we're going to see this young and up-and-coming mayor who's really trying to change the city, really rely on Gordon, maybe being the one who promotes him to commissioner, and really sort of building this relationship with both Batman and Bruce Wayne in a really interesting way. So I think, this movie's going to talk about not just how Batman as a character helps to make Gotham different, but how he realizes that Bruce Wayne is essential and important, not just a persona, but another really important piece to making Gotham the city that he hopes it can be.
Yeah, in a way, it reminded me of Ellen Yindel from Dark Knight Returns. Remember when she comes in to take over for Gordon, and she's like, "I'm not gonna. You're the one that made these deals with a vigilante. I'm not gonna do that." Then realizes she does.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it struck me. It had shades of that because she was against him. She said it in the debate in the first scene, like she said on TV, like, and you made these deals. We have a massive vigilante running around, blah blah blah. So,
and it was Gordon that helped get her out of the line of fire. Batman didn't do anything to that. He's like. So that's some great conflict in the future. Yeah,
and remember, he reaches for her. He wants to help her out first, and she says,
"It's so good you'd say that because it's like but she'll work with Bruce Wayne." So then there's that dichotomy of the two of them going at each other, but it's both him. That's awesome.
That's a good point. Yeah. Brandon Lewis saying, in this new Batman world, could Green Arrow be introduced as an ally to start his origin story? Also, why not try some suicide villains like a Deadshot or Deathstroke?
I mean, Deathstroke definitely seems possible.
He could work, but I think because the love of Manganiello and attached to, Affleck and the Snyderverse, I don't think we get a Manganiello Deathstroke.
Yeah,
I don't.
I think that Reeves is not very interested in building out the DC universe of his vision. I think that we already have, like with the DCU, we have an avenue where we're getting a Batman. It's Keaton. But we're getting all of these characters working together. I think that what Reeves is interested in is telling his seminal Batman story. Yeah. So I don't know that we're going to get a bunch of other characters outside of the Rogues Gallery. And we might get into Robin. We might get into some of those other pieces. But I don't think we're going to get into like a bunch of other DC characters.
Do we see this Batman in a future Justice League?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think we are seeing the birth of the Batverse.
Okay.
And it's just the Batman stuff.
Respect.
It's like Sony's Spider-Verse without Spider-Man, but with Spider-Man.
Yeah. You mean the one where they're making a Craven movie and then they just announced the villain for the Craven movie? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, it's the guy from...
so the villain Craven has a villain in his movie. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, no, yeah, all the Sinister Six are going to be anti-heroes. Andrew Hale says, who are the best villains y'all like to see in the sequels? I want to see new Batman villains that have been portrayed on the big screen. Keep things fresh.
Yeah. I think that's how we're all feeling. I mean, I think that's why the Joker scene does fall a little bit flat, is because we all are interested in seeing some newer stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Like I said, if I don't ever see the Joker again for 20 years, I'm fine. Batman's got such a great rogues gallery that we have not seen any version of in live action. There's so many good ones.
Yeah. We got 6 more of these. Sorry, people keep sending them in.
Knock them out.
Count says, I will say Jeffrey Wright as Gordon was my favorite part of the whole thing. It felt real and authentic to the comics. Comics established Gordon yet. So most faithful established Gordon yet. Catwoman, sexy AF. All right, respect.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Fucking awesome. Come on, man.
We gotta get you out of here.
Get you out of here, man. Just hit me with the keys to the back room.
Hey, man, you should have pulled that punch.
I did.
It's awesome. Awesome.
Who's that guy?
Gotta see it again now.
He's moonlighting as the cop. Tarek Dingle says, I love the film, and the thing that blew me away the most was Reeves's direction. Reeves's Dawn and War of the Planet of the Apes. He's talking about 2 films from his Planet of the Apes series, are 2 of my favorite films ever, and he definitely directs the hell out of those. But this was him on another level, in my opinion. Yeah, gentlemen, let's talk about Matt Reeves' direction for just a few minutes here. I mean, how incredible, as we said, there is no director's cut. This is his director's cut. Everything is in here. His vision is so singularly realized in this movie from beginning to end. It's an incredible piece of work from him as a filmmaker. You can have story gripes, maybe even character beat gripes, and that Joker scene, but overall, this was one of the most incredibly well-directed films, let alone comic book films, ever made.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no doubts when he was attached. And back when he was attached to Affleck's film, there was still no doubts. I mean, even Cloverfield is just so damn good.
Oh, right, that's right.
Like, it's like in his Dawn and War. It's like he's a movie about where CGI apes are the protagonists, and they're the majority of the movie, and you still are invested. Like, the film was in great hands, and the Batman character is in great hands.
And I'll take War over Dawn, even though War did less box office than Dawn. War was a better film, in my opinion. Sorry, Mike.
Really?
Interesting.
I disagree, but
I go with Dawn.
Really?
I do too.
Okay.
Yeah, I go Dawn over. I think they're both amazing.
I still think Rise is pretty damn great too.
Yeah, true. The first one, yes, absolutely. Yes.
But yeah, look, he's got an amazing eye. All of his movies are just visually gorgeous.
Some people say that he has 2. That's a Batman reference too, if you didn't remember. 89 Batman
from 1989.
That's right, baby. That's right.
At least your references are on point and modern. But he has like, his movies are gorgeous, but I do agree that like he's really outdone himself with this. Like the passion is so, you could just feel the passion through the screen.
Yeah. I said it like that first fandom when he talked a year and a half ago, it was just so much like, this guy loves this, and they it's just WB. Let him do his thing.
Yeah.
Let him go. You got a hit on your hands.
Tarek Tinkle says the places that Reeves places the camera, especially all the mounted shots, particularly during the Batmobile chase, was mesmerizing. Possibly my favorite scene in the film, thrilling while revealing character. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I mean, it's honestly what Kalinowski just said. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the difference between a filmmaker who's passionate about the material they're working with versus someone who's a hired gun. And like I always kind of throw Martin Campbell into this category.
Yeah.
Like you look at his work in Bond versus his work in Green Lantern, and it's like, okay, you really like James Bond as a character.
Yeah.
Green Lantern is what someone told you about.
Someone made a great point. They said during the Batmobile chase, every shot of the Penguin is from here looking at the Penguin looking back, and every shot of the Batmobile is the Batmobile like from the dashboard forward. So you even built into the cinematography is this feeling of he's being hunted.
Yeah. Greg Fraser's cinematography also deserves a massive shout out. What an incredible job. But I mean, doing, as I said in the non-spoiler, doing Dune and this as your two, I mean, that's the
back,
end of
baby.
Your calling card, for God's sake, you know?
Yep.
Just retire.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had the best 1-2 punch in history.
You did it. You did it. You're done. You did it.
Congratulations, guys. You did it. Asco420 says, hashtag release the 4-hour cut. Just kidding, but you know it's coming. Probably not. Not on this one. I don't think it is.
That'll be the talk of it, but you'll tell them reason, and the Reeves will come out and say, "Hey, that's my movie. What I want to do," and they'll still go, "No, I know there's a cut.
No, there is
one.
Give me your hard drive." Derek Dingle says, also, I'm sure this has already been mentioned, but the score is phenomenal. Adds so much weight to the film, and I immediately downloaded it all after I saw the film.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yeah.
We talked about
This
that.
is Giacchino's. I mean, this is his crown jewel.
There's very
sure.
There's very few
Argue that.
scores where I will either own it digitally, a CD, and then buy the vinyl. But for this one, is like I want it to come out in vinyl already. Yeah.
He did Rogue One. Am I correct on that? Or who did Rogue One?
Did you know?
No, he did.
He
It was
did.
him.
Did, right?
Yeah.
They just released the extra
I
tracks
saw that. Yeah,
for Rogue, and it's a $75 vinyl
I
set
know.
on Mondo.
I know.
I'm this close. Haskell420 says the first 15 minutes, one of the best and iconic character intros of all time. In that Batmobile intro, bad guys see the signal, they run, and petrified of the shadows.
Yep,
Yes.
agreed.
Speaking of what you said in that opening scene, there was a little bit like the guys are all beating him up. The guy pulls a knife, but the one guy goes to grab the gun, and the guy's like, "No, no, no!"
Yeah.
Like they knew. It's like, "Oh, don't do that to him." Like they even knew within the criminal world, it's like, don't use guns against him.
Right.
So that
Because
was
he's bulletproof.
It's
And
such
so-
a great little touch, like to show Batman's hate of guns and that guy who did shoot him got a little extra something. A little extra something there.
Let me ask you about three things. The kid that runs away, the kid that tries to sneak into the funeral and the cop kind of puts him back,
Okay.
and then the guy that speaks to Bruce Wayne or is talking out loud and Bruce Wayne is standing next to him.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that Reeves would highlight these people.
I think.
Does that young kid become Azrael? Does the
Which kid run away? Which kid run away?
the kid with that's half the half?
No, I think.
Who does he become?
I think
Tim-
that was
Tim
separate. But the
Drake.
two guys.
He becomes Jim Drake. Okay.
No.
No. He played Tim Drake in.
Oh,
Tiger.
I know what you're
gotcha.
saying. No, I think he was just like he was the guy that was like even his face was half black and half
that's what I'm
white,
saying.
and they were
Yeah.
all white.
Yeah.
So that was his initiation. I think he's like, oh, I made the choice. Okay, I'm out. I ain't
Yeah.
doing this anymore. But the two guys at the funeral, that was him going, is this guy the Riddler? Is this guy the
Yeah.
Riddler? Because
Okay.
they didn't know who the Riddler was, and they made them look
Okay.
with the orangish hair. They both were orange hair.
Okay.
I think they were both wearing green.
Each
like,
one of them, it was him. Like anybody could, like he's just trying to pinpoint.
He doesn't know who it is.
Who
He's like-
stands out here, and
Right.
they both is this guy? Is this it? Yeah, Kalinowski's right.
and that highlighted his Bruce Wayne's awkwardness in public. I love just the little thing. He gets out of the car and he's standing there waiting for the valet ticket to be taken. He's just like, I don't know what to do. Is someone going to take this? Like it was
Right,
just such a little moment of his awkwardness.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I think there's also a case to be made for those two guys at the funeral that those are potentially Riddler acolytes. That
Sure.
those are guys
Ooh.
that showed up knowing that Riddler is responsible.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're both
absolutely.
wearing green
Yeah.
jackets, so
Yeah.
that's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that guy might be Joe Chill, or I
That
thought
is
I
totally
think-
what I thought too.
Yo,
when the
John,
guy was
honestly-
talking to him.
seeing this film and when they did the whole Falcone Maroni, Falcone Maroni did the whole they killed him, they killed the Waynes. I think they set up and with Alfred going, I wish I knew for sure.
Yeah.
I think they set it up perfectly to never answer it,
Okay.
or that Joe Chill was just some thug,
The only reason I say that too, Mike, is
just
because
a random
the
act
guy-
of violence.
Yeah, and that's fair, and that's totally fair. And the only reason I say this is because the guy says to Bruce Wayne before he gets pulled away, "Hey, don't I know you?" He says it like that, and then they say his name. Now, they say the name in front of the guy, Bruce Wayne. This guy, it's Rial who comes up. Bruce Wayne, I've been trying to talk to you. The guy doesn't react, so I find it odd. So I
think-
just thought maybe that's the guy that killed his parents. I don't know.
I think it's like the Golden Prince of Gotham. Like everyone's like, "Oh, you're that kid." You're not
Yeah.
around anymore.
Yeah.
You came back to Gotham. We heard.
Oh, good point. I haven't
you're-
seen
you're
you,
that
but I remember
guy.
seeing you. Okay, that's the excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, I would see that. Tarek Dick also says, also the world of Gotham here is incredible, so immersive and oppressive, while also being intriguing and beautiful. Lastly, Pattinson is my favorite Batman now, dethroning Bale for me. Wow, off one movie, it's incredible how many people are willing to like throw.
I got to give him a little
Bale
more.
overboard.
I got to get a little more to see what's going on, how I feel with him.
I liked him though. I mean,
Are you kidding? That's the thing,
better
John. I
than-
never want to speak of hyperbole and go, "Yep, that's it, best Batman film ever."
Yeah,
I've got to let it sit with me. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Marinate.
For me right now, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
No. Go ahead.
I just someone did they put up what's his name, Ghidorah from Godzilla versus Kong with the 3 heads, and it was like 89 Batman Begins and now the Batman for those 3. So that's where they're sitting with me with like the best Batman film. It's like I don't know which one. I don't know. Got to give it some more time.
Fair enough. Starfire Triple X says, "You all rock." The wife says, "Quote more Mike K. Great news on the book." There you go.
Got to give them what they want. Got to give them what they want. Thank you for that.
Cooley High says, "I would also like to see Clayface." Ooh, could that work?
Stay easy, Clay.
Not
Stay
in
easy,
this
Cooley.
version.
I want to see it so bad.
Yeah.
I want Clayface so bad in a live action film.
Tarek Dingle says, "I agree with John. 1 War, 2 Dawn, 3 Rise, but they're 3 of my all-time favorites, so I love them all." Yeah, actually, that's my order as well. That is my order as well.
Those apes, like that is an unsung trilogy though. People don't talk about them
They
enough.
don't.
They are so
don't
good.
give it nearly enough credit.
I agree. 1,000% I agree. All right, and 2 more, and then we'll get into whatever as we're wrapping up here. Alan Smith, yo, Geek Buds, this movie was shot digitally, transferred to 35mm film, and then retransferred from that film back to digital just so it could have that film look. Interesting. I love film. It's my job to wind through a lot of it. Thanks, Buds and Kalinowski. That's true. Smithy works in restoring films for the Academy. So
That's
for
awesome.
UCLA, rather. He works
you-
in that film archive. So
Did you hear
he
that
knows what
article
he's
then, buddy?
Huh?
About they did like a bleach bypass on this one too. Like
Yeah.
with there's something on Twitter came up today about the bleach bypass on it, what they did on 7 and stuff. So
Mhm.
I think they did it on Dune as well.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. And then Philly G says, "Love that Rocha and Kalinowski coordinated a hat and shirt. Hope you guys have a great week." What? No, this is
Oh, the 2 axes, the 2 arrows. There we go.
the University of Army. This is Army University.
And this is
Anyway,
the symbol for my favorite one of my favorite authors. That's his
Oh,
kind
there
of
you go.
book symbol.
There you go. All right, let's. I mean, we're already 2.5 in here. We should wrap up here very soon. We all want to get on with our Sundays. Vogel, I go back to you on this one. Anything more you want to say about this film? And we've talked about the action. We've talked about the acting, the relationships, the portrayals, the cinematography, the score, the pacing, the direction. All of it has been covered as we've talked and answered questions here over the last 2.5 hours. What do you feel that hasn't been said about this film that we should touch on or cover?
I really did love. I mean, I think that just like we've talked around it a little bit, but I've talked to so many people. Much like Spider-Man: Homecoming, this is a reboot that skips over the origin, and everybody makes the jokes about it. Like, if I see those pearls in slow motion one more time, do we really need to see it? Like, I love that we're living in this era where our modern day mythology is so well understood that we don't need to rehash what we've already hashed so many times.
Right.
But I love that we got a new level of understanding of Thomas and Martha Wayne. Like, I think that because we didn't have to spend that amount of screen time watching them come out of a movie theater, seeing them get shot so that we see Bruce be torn, like, because we sort of saw him look at Mayor Mitchell's kid and we understood the reference, it allowed us to open up into this avenue of the background of Thomas and Martha, which I think is worth talking about just really briefly, because I think that's going to really drive so much of where this story goes, where Reeves wants to take it in the next movie and potentially the third movie.
Okay. Shannon, same question to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Vogel here. I mean, the fact that they sort of called Martha, I mean, she comes from the Arkham family. She's Martha Arkham, and that there was this reporter who wanted to get some information out on her history of mental illness. I mean, the fact that they've kind of said that Bruce Wayne. Oh, there's an echo.
That's my fault. My dinner just got here.
Now it's sort of chronicled that Bruce Wayne has a history of mental illness in his family,
Yeah.
and this is something that he's chosen to do, is dress up as a bat and beat the shit out of criminals. I think that's some very ripe storytelling material.
And in Flashpoint, doesn't Martha become the Joker in that universe? Right, Thomas Wayne is Batman and Martha is the Joker. The mental illness thing kind of connects there as well. Mark Vogel saying, "Martha, Martha,
sir, don't you?
We were so close. We were so close."
Kalinowski, back to you, my man.
Yes, sir.
Anything more we need to say about the film that we didn't cover? I want to make it clear. I want to make sure no one feels like they
I do want to address one thing that Vogel had said the first night, and to see if he changed his mind on it. And because McClung and I talked a little bit about it, you came out and said like this wasn't a fun movie, and I'm curious because like the influences of Seven, Prisoners, Zodiac, not fun movies. And I'll say this. I always say this. BVS, and I know we're not going to get into it. Not a fun movie. I love it, but it's not a fun movie. This, I didn't feel that, especially a little bit I did after we left the first time. We were all in the theater. I was like, it wasn't fun. Second time with the audience, with the rumbling, with the Batmobile, I was like, oh no, this was a fun movie. Heavy. So I'm curious, one, your thoughts on that, and two, I talked to McClung about this. Have we, and this is not a dig at Marvel, has the MCU, like Netflix, where Netflix taught us about binge watching and how to binge watch shows and what binge watch was, has Marvel had the audience now expected certain beats and things to happen in a superhero movie? If we don't get those, we're disappointed because they do it so well. To the floor.
So to the second question, I think probably a little bit for some people. I think the Marvel machine is so powerful that people go into superhero movies with an expectation, and I think those people will probably go into the Batman and be a little disappointed or thrown off because it's definitely not that. I would adjust what I said that night because I think in watching it today, I disagree with what I said. I do think it's a fun movie. I think like the fact that it's a 3-hour movie and that I watched the entire thing, had to pee about 2 hours in and didn't leave. Like I was like, I know that I've seen this, but I still want to watch. Like that really says something. I think and it's what I said early on in the review. I don't all of a sudden want this movie to have a bunch of quippy jokes and one-liners. Right. I don't want Robert Pattinson to like look at the screen and be like, hey, I don't need the funny jokes. I think what I was missing and that I think would have been stronger is that, particularly in the middle chunk of this movie, if we had more characters, Gordon, Selena, whatever, trying to kind of get this dude out of his shell a little bit and seeing a little bit more of the character of the dynamics of these characters, I think like there was a little bit of a point in the middle where it got a bit repetitive because he's going through this thing, and I don't think you needed to all of a sudden change it and make him not disconnected. Right. But I think if you had some other characters kind of remarking on it and pushing on it a little bit and pushing on that emotional story that we actually get with him and bringing out some more levels in it, I think it would have made the middle chunk a little bit stronger. But I don't think that I was correct. I'm
also not disagreeing with you. Like after you had said that first night, I was like, yeah, it wasn't a fun movie, but I was okay with that. But on the second viewing, I was just like, oh no, I had a ton of fun the second time.
It's not a fun rollicking roller coaster where I'm laughing my ass off. It's a dark noir film. But I think it's supposed to be a dark noir film, so I don't think I would want to take that away from the movie. But I do think pushing on some of the character dynamics in the middle section of the movie would have made it stronger.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
As Pascal says, the guy at the funeral who spoke to Bruce, I think, was the same bad guy at the end shootout who said, "I'm vengeance to Batman," which made Batman look at him and made him realize, I helped create them, and now I have to become more, but I may be wrong. Yeah, it's a different actor.
I didn't think it was the same guy.
Yeah, it's a different. His nose is more bulbous. I would say.
I'll look into that.
Mark Vabla says, I have no idea why ratings boards were panicking over the content. My kids 10 and 11 were actually bored with most of the film. I loved it, but they didn't follow the politics and detective work. It's fair. We 10 or 11. You really
fair
care
enough.
about that stuff,
Fair enough. Good
fair
point.
I don't think there's anything more we need to. I mean, we've touched on the story. We've hit all the acting.
We're almost as long as the movie at this point.
Yeah, so we should cut it, I think, at this point. All right. Well, then thank you all so much for joining us live. And definitely thank you to everyone who was so lively in the chat. Thanks for everyone for your Streamlabs and
thank
Super
you guys.
We appreciate it madly very much. And of course, Thank you to Mike Kalinowski for joining us for this review.
Boys,
Mike,
come on now.
you, man.
Anytime, my brothers. Anytime, brothers.
And Mike, please tell people where they can find you, and please pitch your book again,
Yes.
the James Bond book that is out.
Also on social medias, at Mike Kalinowski, in bookstores, Amazon, Bond, James Bond, the Shake and Insert History of Ian Fleming's 007 by myself and Brad Gilmore. Please, for everyone that's bought it, there's been so many of you guys. Thank you so much. I'm working on ways to get them signed. A lot of people have asked me about signed copies and stuff like that, and it's my first book, so I'm working through it. But yeah, I will absolutely be getting those out. So.
And do you have a Schmoedown match coming up that you can pitch? People can tune in to watch yet, or what's the deal there?
There's the Batman exhibition match that we just dropped, myself and Kevin Smets, IG champion. I don't have a match lined up, buddy. Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not
All
yet.
right.
No.
Oh, that's
not
kind
yet.
of surprising.
Taking it easy. Taking it easy so far this season, pal.
Take it easy. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Oh, show me this.
Come on.
There he is.
And for those of you who may not know, this is the book. You can go pick it
Oh,
up.
look at that.
Bond, James Bond there. Sorry, I couldn't get a full 1280, but
That's it, buddy.
That is the book there. Go and pick it up, ladies and gentlemen, and have some fun with that for sure, and enjoy reading about Bond, something that I definitely need to catch up on because I have not watched a lot of those films. So that may be a book that helps to break them down and absorb them for sure. Another fantastic hero that has gone through multiple iterations, multiple different actors playing them. And we are currently on a run of British Batman from Christian Bale to Robert Pattinson. So very, very interesting stuff indeed. Shannon, what do we have to tell everybody who's watching us right now?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at Geek_Buddies, on Instagram at _Geek_Buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you go to YouTube and watch my new Strawberry Shortcake episode, if a lot of people watch it, it'll show Mike Vogel that we should do more crazier ideas in Strawberry Shortcake. Speaking of Mike Vogel, if you would like to follow him on social media, it's at MKTune. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Mikey?
If you are still here at 2.5 hours, you probably want even more Geek Buddies content, and you're not sick of us yet. And here is how you can help us do that. You can subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. If you haven't hit the like button below, definitely just do it right now really quick while you're thinking about it. Just go click it right now while I'm talking about it. Thank you so much. You just did it. I hope you did it. Leave comments below. The comments in the chat were great. Let us know what you thought of the review. What did you think of the Batman? What are your likes? What are your dislikes? Where do you hope it goes? If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere podcasts are available, go ahead and leave us some stars and some comments so we go up in the rankings and more people can find us. And as always, the best thing that you guys can do is retweet this video, post it to your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them all to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
That's right. People that do hang out with us are instantly cooler by 5-10 degrees. I feel like you're a cooler person. Not necessarily Mr. Freeze, but you're certainly a little bit cooler for sure. And speaking of cool people, shout out and thank you to Carbon Health, who powers and sponsors everything we do here on the Geek Buddies and by extension the Outlaw Nation. Thank you so much. And people, listen, they're an incredible healthcare company that believes good healthcare should be accessible to everybody. So head on over to healthcare.com, see that they've got 90 clinics in 14 states, virtual care in 24 states, a 3-pronged attack to create a specific healthcare plan for you. So whether you're Mr. Freeze or Clayface or Doll Man or Calendar Man or whoever you are, or Catwoman or Poison Ivy, they will absolutely take care of you and get you back in ship shape so you can head out there and take on any of the bad guys or take on any of the good guys, depending on how you feel. So that's what you can do there at carbonhealth.com. So please show, and if you use them, do me a favor, tweet at us and tweet at them so they know that these promotions, their sponsorship of our show, is helping people go there and try out their services, please. There you go. All right, that's it from us. Thank you all so much for joining us on this live spoiler review here for the Batman. Certainly we'll be back with a main show later on in a couple of days here, but we want to say thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks again to Mike Kalinowski, and we will talk to you next time with another brand new review episode or regular episode here on the
Geek
Buddies!